What is up, everybody? Ethan Newberry here for another Ginger Runner Live, episode number 16. I'm really excited about today's episode. It's going to be kind of chill, kind of relaxed, but we're going to be talking about dream running adventures. I'm calling them run ventures just because it's easier to hashtag, which is interesting way to put it. But welcome to the show, everybody. We're going to be talking about it. If you're watching live, jump into the chat room. Let me know some of your dream running adventures, or you can even use the hashtag Ginger Runner Live, and I'll be able to see you whatever you post, and we can talk about that as well if you just want to stick to Twitter. It's all good. Welcome to the show, episode number 16, Ginger Runner Live. Ginger Runner. Yay! What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It's just me today. It's just going to be me and you. Which is going to be nice and intimate, and that's how I like it. Intimate. An odd way to start the show. I'm actually really excited about tonight's episode. I'm pretty inspired from this last weekend of running, and I want to try to share that inspiration with you. Maybe we can all get excited together about the possibilities ahead of us, no matter what skill level that we are or where we're at in our running journey through life. So I want to start talking about running adventures, and this will actually dovetail into next week's episode. I'll just kind of put that out there now, episode number 17. We have two pretty awesome, epic, legendary runners that are going to be joining us on the show, Jeremy Wolf and Jason Schlarb. They're going to be talking about some of their running adventures that they've been doing and filming, but we'll get to that later in the show. But like I mentioned, this weekend was inspiring for me, and I'll kind of go into detail about how the whole weekend played out. It's a 3-day weekend. And also I should probably say that since today is Memorial Day, I want to make sure that I put out there that I am thankful to those who gave their life to allow all of our freedoms here in the United States of America. And those who serve in the armed forces, you do something that I can't fathom doing, and put yourself and your life on the line every single day. So for that, I'm very thankful. All right. As always, on Ginger Runner Live, I like to partake in a beer. And today, I came home from this weekend's running adventure, to a fridge stock full of pretty much every delicious alcoholic beverage you could possibly imagine, which was a wonderful surprise. A lot of leftovers from a barbecue that was going on in the house this weekend with my roommates that I totally missed out on, but get to enjoy the fruits of their labor, I guess, would it be? So tonight, I'll be drinking Magic Hat number 9. I was drinking Magic Hat over the course of the weekend, and someone was like, hey, you need to drink number 9. I was like, oh, I happen to have some in my fridge. So I'm going to be enjoying this. What are you enjoying out there, people who might be watching live? Look, I always hate this part because it's awkward to try to open a bottle in this particular chair because everything's a little tight. It's a tight squeeze. Okay. Let's start talking running adventures. Here's what happened this weekend for the Ginger Runner. If you follow me on Facebook or Twitter, which I hope you guys do, let me pull this up in case you don't. Look at that. My name and at the Ginger Runner. So basically, I posted out there that I was going to go for big miles this last week. My mileage has been steadily increasing over the course of this year as I am training for my A race of the season, which is going to be the Squamish 50-50 in the middle of August, which is a 50-miler on Saturday and a 50K on Sunday. The more I think about it, the more I plan it out, the more terrified I get. I've run a number of ultras at this point, 50Ks, 50-milers, 100K last year. I plan to do many, many more of those. But this particular race was like a big challenge because I ran the 50-mile Squamish race last year. It was amazing, totally destroyed me, absolutely gave me a run for my money. No, okay, pun intended. But this year they're doing a special race where you can run the 50-miler on Saturday and then the 50K on Sunday. So you know what? I bit the bullet and I signed up for it. And now that it's getting closer, I'm regretting it, purely because it's going to be a huge undertaking. It's just a beast of a race. Long story short, this week has been, I wanted to put it out there that I was going to shoot for big mileage, some of my biggest mileages that I've run in a weekly period, in a 7-day period. My goal was to get 80 miles this week. The longest I think I had put in was somewhere in the 70s, like 72 miles, I think, in 7 days. And that included, I believe that included the Cuyamaca 100K last year. So there was a 10-mile tempo, or I'm sorry, not tempo, but taper over the course of the week into the 100K or something like that. 72 to 75, somewhere in there, that mileage. I ended up logging 93.7 miles, and I think it was actually about 3 or 4 miles more than that because there was a hike that I didn't log, and there was a couple miles that I forgot to unpause my watch for. So really, I was probably at 95 or 96, but according to Strava, it's 93.7. So that, for me, was my biggest mileage of the week, and I wanted that to happen this week because I was originally scheduled to go up to the Western States training camp on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. They had runs scheduled for Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Because our good friend Sally McRae, friend of the show, she's been on many times. You guys probably all know her very well. She's an elite athlete with Team Nike, and she won her spot into Western States at Sean O'Brien as second-place female. So she is going to Western, and she's having her whole Southern California run crew join her to be her crew, be her pacers, and stuff like that. So I actually get the opportunity to pace Sally at Western States, which is a huge, huge honor and opportunity. So I originally signed up for the Western States training camp this weekend, planning on all that mileage. It was going to be somewhere close to 50 or 70 miles over the course of the 3 days. Things didn't pan out travel-wise. It's an expensive trip to take, so a lot of our friends just ended up not being able to go. We opted to do something different. We decided to stay local and run in the San Gabriel Mountains, just northeast of Los Angeles, and train on the AC 100 course. Many of my friends, Billy and Dave and Colin and all these guys, are running AC 100. Guillaume, Dom Grossman, all these Southern California runners. AC 100 is one of the most brutal 100-mile races in the United States. So I wanted to get some time in on that course as well, since I'll be pacing Billy later in the summer at that. I believe that's the first or second week of August, because I haven't really run out there much. So the plan was to go up on Saturday morning very, very early, get a nice long run in on part of the course, camp overnight, and then run another large portion of the course on Sunday. There was a sanctioned training run through the AC, the race directors and stuff like that, on Sunday that was going to be about 27 miles. So my plan was to do 20 plus on Saturday and then the 27-mile run on Sunday, kind of make it a run adventure weekend, going out into the mountains and staying in the high country with no cell signal or any of that kind of stuff. So I came back. I did it. I enjoyed the crap out of it, and it reminded me that that was kind of the essence of why I am doing this now. It's not just about races. It's not just about signing up for these huge epic races, training up to them, and then going and do them, and then finishing them and being really excited about it, and then kind of going through that week or two of post-race depression where you have to find another race to sign up for. It reminded me that it doesn't have to be about a race. It can be about getting together with friends and enjoying the miles, whether together, whether solo, but just having the spirit of what's drawing us to the idea of running. So for me, this weekend was inspiring for many reasons. You're surrounded by some of the most amazing, epic views in Southern California at 8,800 feet elevation. You're surrounded by good friends. You're sharing in the camaraderie together. You're pushing yourself to limits you don't think you're capable of and going beyond it and being impressed and being proud of the fact that you could and did. And you're seeing what your friends can do as well. And it's cool. So it almost kind of helped remind me that we're not just running for races. We're not just running for times. We're not just trying to get a PR. At least in my mind, we shouldn't always be doing that. We should be trying to push ourselves to limits that we think that we're not capable of reaching. So my 80-mile week goal, I wanted to beat it, and I did. Not by much, but for me, more than I ever imagined humanly possible, coming from where I am as a runner. But also, I was pretty terrified going into the weekend because it's all at altitude, and I don't necessarily do well at altitude. And I managed to conquer that. Didn't have any issues at 8,000 plus feet. And the distances, logging a 21, 22 mile on Saturday and a 27 or 28 mile on Sunday, my body held up. I'm sore today. As you can tell, I'm keeping it kind of lazy and kind of relaxed today because it's my recovery day. I just want to take it as a recovery day. I haven't even sipped my beer yet. What the hell is up with that? Mm, that's good. Oh, that's really good. Magic Hat number 9. Love it. I'm wearing my glasses today, which means I haven't put my contacts in yet. I'm giving my eyes a rest. I'm wearing a hat, which means I probably haven't showered. I'm not. I'm just okay. I haven't showered. It's not that I probably haven't. It's just that I have not. Because I needed to sleep. I slept in, you know. But I've been so excited based off of this last weekend, and it made me think. What are other running adventures that I really have been wanting to do? As a runner, I think we all have a list. We all have a list, whether they're a sanctioned event, whether it's a long or a short distance, we have a list of things that we want to do as runners. And I put together my short list. I think it's 10. What is it here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 9 at this point. 9 running adventures, run ventures that are on my bucket list. These are things that I want to do, and this is by no means the only list. I know that I already am like I put this together today, and I was like, holy crap, I could actually make this list somewhere closer to 20 or 30. And after hearing some of you guys, some of you have already emailed me. I'm going to go through all the emails of those of you who have sent me your running adventures, and also on Facebook and in the comments. So if you guys are typing in the comments, I'm going to go through those here in a second. But even reading through a lot of these, I'm going, yeah, I need to add that. Yep, I need to add that as well. So rather than trying to cram them all into a year, which is totally my tendency, which is, I want to take care of all these races in 1 year, so the next year I can do, 20 or 30 more of those. I'm going to kind of keep it 1 or 2 a year, I think, are these kind of run ventures or big kind of epic undertakings. But they don't have to be big, epic undertakings. They can be short. They can be a night. They can be a day. They can be, some of you have sent me races, and it's like, yeah, this one particular race, that's an amazing bucket list race. It's a dream run venture. So why not add that? Pardon me while I belch up this beautiful Magic Hat number 9. Okay, so I'm going to go through the comments here. Have you ever heard of the Sinister 7 Ultramarathon in Alberta, Canada? It's 100 miles and is the great tour of our Seven Sisters mountain range in the Canadian Rockies. That's from Danielle. I haven't actually heard of that, but it sounds epic because I'm familiar with the Seven Sisters mountain range. I have never been there, but I've seen and heard about it, seen pictures of it and heard about it. Sounds epic. Jason Mosamin is very excited. He's in the chat room. Rock and roll. Let's do this. Brett Ashley asks, heading out to Western States to pace a relative. Any tips for a first-time pacer? Don't want to screw him up at 80 miles in. I can answer that question now. Brett, if you are pacing a friend and you're picking them up at mile 80 of Western States, they're probably going to be in pretty rough shape at that point. Most humans would be, elite or non. So your job at that point, depending on what time of day it is to just keep them moving. It doesn't matter how fast they're going. Don't expect them to be moving fast. They will probably be moving half as fast as they were earlier in the race. That's not statistically accurate, but who knows? They could be in a second surge, a third surge, a fourth surge, or they could be just suffering. So your goal is to just keep them moving, whether it's walking, crawling, running, and make sure that they're eating and drinking properly. Make sure that they're on the right track, because while it is only 20 miles left over the course of a 100-mile race, that's 1/5 for those of you who are math geniuses like myself. It is still a long distance, and there's still some good climbs and good trails in that last 20. I have not been on the course, but I'm familiar with it, and I've studied up on it. So I wouldn't worry too much about what you need. Worry about what they need, but definitely get your training in so you're well prepared in case they do come blazing through mile 80 on a second, third, fourth surge, ready to finish that race, and you need to keep up. So just be ready for that. Be overtrained. You don't want them dragging you along. That's pretty much it. Sinister 7 is out in Alberta. Western States is Chris Rush's dream. Yes. I didn't add that on this particular list, and I'm going to share with you guys today. It is by far my dream 100, purely because it is such, yes, it's publicized, but it's just kind of one of those races that when you start getting into ultras, it's just on the list. It just is. There are a number of other ultras that are. Hard Rock would be amazing. Speed Goat, 50K. These are all pretty epic races for various reasons. And Western States for me is on that list. And if it could be my first 100, if I could qualify for it this year, get in next year, I would do it. As my first 100, absolutely 100%. Got any advice for someone thinking about their first 24-hour run? John Katavitis. Don't stop. No. For a 24-hour run, I haven't done anything like that. The longest I've been out there is about 14 to 15 hours, somewhere in there. And the trick is, I really do think it's to not stop. It's not to necessarily run the whole time, but for those long breaks you need, and you can kind of go into it with some sort of strategy to walk for an hour during the course of the day. So you run for 5 hours, walk for an hour. I don't know. There are a number of people, maybe even in the chat room or watching live, that have done the 24-hour events. I think they're a different beast entirely. Some people have done the 6 days in a row events. If Jamil is in the chat room, I'm not sure if Jamil is watching, but I believe he has done these type of events. A lot of those guys out there in Arizona have done these 24-hour, 48-hour, 72-hour events. Your glasses look nerdy. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Your 90-plus mile week is badass. I can't get past 40. Chris, I bet you can. I didn't think I could. I didn't think I could get past 50 or 60 in the last couple of weeks. But you just got to do it. And your body will tell you if it needs to stop. Mine is telling me today that I think I stopped at the right point. My knees hurt, my quads hurt, everything hurts. A little bit tight. Okay. Let's start talking about this list. Let's start talking about this epic list. Someone says, oh yeah, Raul. I had a Ginger Runner signing this weekend. He blew by me yesterday on the AC course, which was amazing, by the way, Raul. It was great to run into you out there and a bunch of other Ginger Runner fans. It was a beautiful day on the AC 100 course, and when you're running out there, you get a real taste for what they're going to be in store for in August, and it is brutal. It is a tough course, relentless, technical in many spots, steep, huge climbs in many spots. While the course itself is a net downhill, I believe it's 28,000 downhill, 22,000 up. It's relentless, and you go through so many different types of terrain and scenery and stuff like that. So it was really awesome to be able to run out there. And that, like I said, it's kind of brought me to today, like, oh my God, what is the next thing I'm going to add to my run adventure list? Because just this short 2-day adventure this weekend was just like, yes, this is why I do it. I love this. I want more of this. Okay, so while I start scrolling through this chat room, which of course always updates a little bit slowly, I'm going to start with my list. And as I read through my list and kind of talk about each of the items, I will go through some of the ones that you have emailed me or tweeted me or are saying in the chat room. First one, and I think this is on everybody's list, the Grand Canyon, rim to rim to rim. Essentially, you start, like in my mind, here's how the plan would go, starting at the South Rim, running Kaibab to North Rim or Bright Angel Trail to North Rim, Summit North Rim, turn back around and come back. Number of people have done this run. There's actually last couple of weekends have been really big running weekends there because it's going to start getting super hot soon. So there's really a short window in the spring and the fall where you can actually do the rim to rim to rim, or just rim to rim in general. It's one of those run adventures that I never thought could humanly be done, but it's been done for decades. But when I first started getting into running, I was like, oh, I would love to just hike the Grand Canyon, because every time I go there, you just look at it and go, I wish I had planned ahead so I could actually hike this thing. I usually end up getting there and taking in the sights and doing a little bit of hiking, a little bit into the rim, turning around and coming back out because you only have a certain amount of time or you started too late. But to really plan it and to do that adventure would be epic, amazing. Chris Vargo, friend of the show, did it a couple weekends ago, where I believe he ran from North Rim to South Rim, just as a training run, but he was talking about how epic it was. I still think it's 5,000 or 6,000 feet of elevation, because you're running down into, essentially from 8,000 feet down to zero, or just above that, and then running back out. I mean, you can see the top of the Grand Canyon, and you're running back out another 5,000 or 6,000 feet over the course of just a couple of miles. And he said it was just epic. Extremely dangerous. He ran into some donkeys, which nearly killed him. So a lot of the trail can be extremely dangerous, but that's also part of the allure. Now, my concern with this particular run adventure is that it's become quite popular, and quite popular with maybe runners who aren't necessarily trained for it, because they look at a distance and they don't take into account elevation, heat, nutrition, multiple factors that come into play in this particular region of the United States. My fear is that it's going to become too crowded, too popular. It'll become something that will no longer be tolerated by the park rangers and the park system and stuff like that, and I would hate to see that happen. I want to make sure that those trails are being shared by hikers, because hikers have been doing it for decades as well, centuries. That's not necessarily true. A long time. Hikers and backpackers sharing the trails with the runners is an interesting debate. Maybe we should get into that in another episode. But that particular region, I feel like it's suffering from some angst, where the runners want to do this epic run, and the hikers don't want the runners to fuck with their beautiful, amazing hike, and vice versa. And then there's the donkeys. The donkeys kind of own that place. And so the donkey trains you have to be very, very conscious of and play safe with. So it's interesting. But it's on my list. And I wouldn't say that's number one. It's definitely up there. It's like top 3, I think, for me at this current point in time. Benjamin and Nichols in the chat room says, Ethan, come out for Rim to Rim to Rim in October. There's a good group of us from Phoenix doing it. That would actually be when I would do it, would be in October. I have a lot going on in October already. Kim, my fiance's first 50K is in October, and my 100K is in October. So that's a pretty busy month. If I could push it into November, I would do that. But it might be too late in the season. We'll have to play that by ear. Cody Van Rokel says, Long Beach Marathon is a good one for first-timers. It hosts good temps and is totally flat. That is true. That is absolutely true. That particular marathon is nice and flat, great for beginners. You don't have to worry about hills. You may have to worry about temperatures being a little bit warm, but you're along the ocean. So it's definitely something that beginners can do. James Whipple says, running Western States next month. That was the race I have been wanting to do, and it will be a reality in 32 days. That is awesome, James. Congratulations for getting on or getting in and making it through that lottery. I know that the lottery is very tough for people. For me, it's a 10-year plan. It's one of those things I like. I know I'm going to apply every single year as long as I qualify until I get in. So congratulations to you. You're going to kill it. Totally agree with you, Ethan. Run ventures are what running is all about, for me at least. That's from Russell Anderson. Started running because I wanted to explore local trails and be capable of covering long distances on foot. I totally agree. And while I'm going to be talking about these big running adventures, most of mine on my list are fairly large undertakings. They don't have to be done fast. They can be done in as long as you want to do them. These are also, they could be hiking or just outdoor adventures. But they don't have to be that long either. So maybe some of you out there have a 5K that is in Hawaii, and you really want to do it. I'm sure Hawaii has 5Ks, but maybe you want to travel out to Hawaii and do this 5K, and it's been on your list for a long time. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be fast. It could be whatever you want, because I know that we're all different levels here. Mine in particular just happen to be these kind of big, epic things, because that's where I'm at this point, especially after this weekend running on these trails that blow your mind. Cam Kaseya, Ethan, have you ever been to New Hampshire? There are some awesome running spots there. I have never been to New Hampshire. There are a number of trails that I've seen on the East Coast that look epic. And there was this list recently that was sent to me of like the 10 most dangerous hikes in the United States, and one of them was in New Hampshire, I believe, where it went up these crazy mountains that had ladders that have been deteriorating, and people have been known to like die there constantly because the ladders have been failing or they're just unexperienced. Just crazy, crazy stuff. Yeah. Oh, we actually have Chris Vargo in the chat room, which is awesome. Chris, if people are asking questions about your Grand Canyon traverse, let them know some of the deets, because you tell it far better than I could retell it, unless, of course, you are home and you want to jump on, in which case text me and I'll bring you on. You can talk about it. Okay, so my first one was the Grand Canyon. I'm going to go to my email because I know some of you guys have wrote me. We can talk about some of yours. Here we go. This is from Aaron Holden. Aaron Holden says, don't we all have some sort of running bucket list once we catch the running bug? I agree. I think we do. Mine has changed over the past couple of years, but I would love to run a marathon. Not picky about which one. in Ireland. My husband and I went there on a honeymoon, and he has been one of the driving forces behind me getting into running. He is the best road crew. He found me every 4 to 5 miles of my first marathon in case I needed anything, and he deserves a great location to take in just as much as I do running. The sightseeing after wouldn't be too terrible either. I totally agree. Ireland would be beautiful to go to. Look into the Connemarathon. Colin, a Southern California running buddy, Billy, I believe, did it. Dave Daly did it. These are all people of my friends who have done the Connemarathon. I don't necessarily, I think it's Connamarathon. It's a series of marathons that take place in Ireland. I think there's a 42 or 46 mile distance, and then there are shorter distances as well. But I've heard that the camaraderie and the international like shout-outs amongst multiple countries is just insane there, and they are fully supported along the entire course, and it's beautiful. You're running through green, lush, rolling hills the entire time. It could be windy, it could be rainy, it could be all sorts of beautiful Irish weather. So look into that, because I've heard great things about it, and it would be on my list as well. Let's go to another one. Let's scroll through here. This is from Jim McGuckin, regular watcher of the show. What's up, Jim? Dream running adventure. My dream running adventure is to do either the Gorge 50K or 100K. I live in Delaware. My mother-in-law lives in Oregon. I'm attempting to kill two birds with one stone by running that race next year and have the family visit with her. I got the inspiration to run this event from your video of the event. Now it's all I think about, and all my training is going into doing this event. Do it. Do it. That is my advice to you, Jim, is this will sell out. This race will sell out. I believe the 50K sold out in record time this last year. I was very lucky to get in. The 100K will sell out next year for sure. And that is because of word of mouth, because it's obvious that this race is epic. My video will never do it justice. The trails are the only way for it to do any sort of justice. It was a bucket list race for me. Excuse me. And it will be I want to call it my annual tradition race. There are other races that it conflicts with here in Southern California, which are also kind of like core races for me down here, but man, next year I think I'm going to do the 100K, but just because it's so epic out there. And that is another good example of a race that kind of inspired me towards the run adventure idea. Is I met Yassine Daboun, who I believe he got third at that race. It's in my 100K video. I believe it was third. Super nice dude. An amazing runner, and I follow him on Strava, and he is always logging miles out in those mountains, and it's amazing to see just how much more trail, that's good English, how far, no, I'm not working that sentence out right in my head. There's a lot of trails up there in that particular region that just go beyond epic, so I can't wait to go back up there on a vacation, run adventure, and go explore those trails more. Because the course itself runs by all these waterfalls, but there's so many trails that take you up into those mountains and beyond that you don't necessarily see in this particular race course, but would be in a great weekend or a whole week to spend up there and just explore. So that is on my list as well. Good job, Jim. That's going to be fucking epic. Let's jump back into the chat room here. Jamil, oh, Jamil, nice. Hump to Hole downhill course. I believe Jamil is watching. Okay, so Jamil says, Hole to Hump is definitely on my list. Bottom of Grand Canyon to top of Mount Humphreys, which is the highest point in Arizona at 12,600 feet near Flagstaff. Holy crap. That sounds awesome. What time of year is that? I believe he says a little bit later. Or Hump to Hole, which is the downhill version of that course, which would be crazy. Danielle says, Squamish looks beautiful. I would love to do that as my first 50K. It is going to be a tough first 50K. But man, it is gorgeous. I can't wait to go back up to Squamish. We're going to be going. I plan on going there before the Squamish 50-50 for at least a week or two to acclimate to those trails and get my body prepared for that race. I plan on doing a number of training runs up there, just because it is kind of one of those things. Okay, so while I wait for the chat room to continue to update, which I always like to do, I'm going to move on to my next item on my run adventure list of must-go-tos, must-dos, and that is the PCT, Pacific Crest Trail. A lot of this last weekend was run on the Pacific Crest Trail, which runs from Mexico to Canada, runs the entire length of the West Coast. through essentially the most beautiful mountain ranges in each of the states. And it covers some of the highest peaks, some of the most beautiful peaks, some of the most remote peaks. It's epic beyond the meaning of that word. So when I say PCT, I don't necessarily mean I would love to do the entire PCT. That would take me away from life for about 6 months, 4 to 6 months, somewhere like that. I would be living life to its fullest out there, but it would take me away from this kind of stuff and racing and all that for a long time. So I would divide it into chunks, and there's a number of chunks that I would like to participate in and to kind of set out for a week or a couple days and do. And my best friend Justin up in Seattle commented on my Facebook post about this, and it is the exact section that I would want to do, and he would be the person I want to do it with just because we're both old best friends from Seattle, and this is kind of our hood. But Portland to Seattle, it doesn't start in Portland. It starts a little bit east of Portland, but then goes up through the Cascade Mountain Range up towards Seattle. And that for me is kind of a pilgrimage. I was born in Portland, lived in Seattle most of my life. I would love to do that stretch. I don't know exactly how many miles it is. It's over 200, I believe, but that would be amazing. Setting out and doing that over the course of a week or something like that would be great. And I really like this idea of fast packing. It's kind of a term used for fast hiking, where you speed hike through, you sleep, you speed hike through, you sleep. In this particular case, it would involve more running. And I've been looking into more fast pack style backpacks and really minimal sleeping items, maybe a sleeping bag or some sort of sleeping cocoon, minimal amounts of clothing, just so you could keep your backpack light, efficient, and you could fast run, essentially fast pack through whatever trail area that you want. So the PCT would be huge on my run adventure list, and there are multiple sections that would be just awesome. One in particular would be Portland to Seattle, and my buddy Justin mentioned that to me as well, and I'm like, yes, absolutely, of course. Another one on my list, and this kind of relates to that. I just actually watched a video about it today because I just kind of started going through my head and was like, what other run adventures do I want to do? And that is the Wonderland Trail in Washington State. The Wonderland Trail goes around Mount Rainier. Essentially, Mount Rainier is one of the most beautiful, epic mountains in Washington State. You can see it from Seattle out in the view. It's this beautiful snow-capped peak. Many people summit Mount Rainier. I believe it's 14,486 feet or something like that. Correct me if I am wrong. I know I am. But it takes a big amount of preparation to summit it. It's a lot of snow work and mountaineering type stuff. I've never summited it, though it is on my list eventually. But growing up seeing that mountain on the horizon almost every day, there's a trail that goes the circumference of it. It's called the Wonderland Trail. I believe it is, actually pulled it up. The Wonderland Trail is 93 miles long and encircles Mount Rainier. It is a strenuous hike with lots of elevation gain and loss through lowland forests and valleys and into high alpine and subalpine areas. I would love to do this, and I would love to do this either in one go, so 93 miles. You would have to organize either drops, like food drops, liquid drops, or do you would filter your water on the go, so you would have to kind of fast pack it, or 2 days. Divide it into like 45 and a 48 mile run, and just enjoy it. Really, really enjoy it. Or even do it into 3 days, where you're doing 33 miles a day, a little bit less than that on one of the 2 days, and camping, and really just enjoying being in touch with some pretty rustic Northwest forests and stuff like that. That is on my list. I would love to do that. That would be quite the adventure. The Wonderland Trail. So that's something that I could definitely see doing in 2015, hopefully. Okay. Let's see. Jim McGuckin says, thinking 100K to get the ultra experience and bragging rights, talking about the Gorge 100K. Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a tough race. It's not easy. Tons of vertical, lots of technical stuff. It would be worth looking into. That's specifically the Gorge 100K. Chris Vargo says, yeah, Grand Canyon is sweet. Krar and Jason Wolf here in Flagstaff probably know that place better than anybody. Anxious to get down there with them. Yeah, Rob Krar currently owns the FKT of the Grand Canyon, rim to rim to rim. I think it's only a handful of hours. I believe it's 7 hours, something, which is incredible to run 40-plus miles in that kind of heat and elevation and all that crazy stuff. They would definitely know. Those guys are total professionals. Sniff in the chat room says Tahoe Rim Trail with Jen Shelton. I totally agree. Holy crap, I forgot to add the Tahoe Rim Trail to my list. That would be insane. I believe it is about 200 miles all the way around, if I'm correct. Because I know that there's a Tahoe Rim 200, which is also put on, I believe, in cooperation with Rain Shadow Running. Whether that's a double circumference or that's just a single, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but the Tahoe Rim would be awesome. I've been up there once and done some trail runs up there. Mind-blowing. You're at altitude for sure. I think average around 10,000 feet up on the rim, maybe even higher than that, but holy crap, that'd be epic. Jamil Curry, my number one on my running adventure list is something called the Estrella Traverse, which is a 30-mile off-trail crossing of a mountain range just outside of Phoenix. That sounds epic. So if it's off-trail, that means you're essentially going off of GPS coordinates, or you're just studying the maps and going old school, which that is something I want to do at some point, is to be able to trust my instincts and trust a map and trust the old school navigation techniques to get me from one place to another, trust my skills rather than technology, and do something as epic as that. That is great, Jamil. Let us know more about that. Sniff also says, hang with Peter Balking for, he says desert adventure. I read that as dessert adventure, which sounds great to me right now. Sounds delicious. Ginger Badwater, says Chris Bull. Badwater is on there. Is on my list. I also do very poorly in the heat. It takes a lot of acclimation for me. So Badwater would be on that list for sure. My buddy Josh is doing it this year. It's a new course. He was training this last weekend and putting in some really epic miles and some crazy freeway running. So he'll be doing it. I don't think he's allowed a lot of crew, so I won't be going to document it or anything like that, but hopefully he does some sort of documenting. Josh is the same guy that did the Brazil 135, and there's that video going around from BuzzFeed that talks about the man who ran 135 miles by choice and survived. Go check that out. Ethan, let's see. Oh, yeah, the comments are going backwards there. Okay, let's go back to some emails that I got from Run Ventures. The last one I read was from Jim McCucken, so let's go up to Alex Bridgeforth. Running Transvolcania in La Palma, Spain. Yeah, that's also pretty relevant, too. That one happened a couple weeks ago, Transvolcania, and just watching some of the videos of that, some of the Solomon race recap videos from that particular course, epic. Epic. Super technical, running around a volcano. You look into the caldera multiple points. It's super hot, very, very, very technical, huge ups and downs. I mean, we talked to Sage last week. Sage Canaday was on our show last week. If you haven't, go check out that episode. It's a great episode. He talks a lot about La Palma and his experience. Placing third place amongst the international and the European field, including Kilian Jornet, is incredible. So go check out that particular episode number 15 of Ginger Runner Live. He talks a lot about it, and it's epic. Okay. From Baker McCool. Great name, Baker. I wish I had a name like Baker McCool. I love it. Okay, favorite bucket list race or trip? Gorge Waterfalls 100K is up there after watching your videos on it. Trans Rockies, the stage race, is one. And road tripping in a Cricket camper trailer throughout Montana, onto Oregon, and north through Washington trail running, drinking the brew, cycling, sampling some of Willamette Valley's finest vino, eating all green, all veg, and recovering in Vancouver after all that for a few days. With my wife, of course. That is a dream of trail running, cycling, and exploring trip. You pretty much just described, like, my dream. That would be my dream trip. Even though I grew up in Washington, there's so much undiscovered and unexplored area for me. I think everything's been discovered. But that is a perfect description of what I would love to do. I can't tell you how many times I'll, like, pull up Dwell, the home magazine or the website, and look at little campers or little houses that are like portable houses, and think about, oh, I would love to just drag that behind some sort of RV or a truck or something like that and just travel and live in it and run and explore and adventure. It'd be awesome. It would be great to do that for a summer and document the whole thing. If there's sponsors watching, hey, would you want to participate in a Ginger Runner adventure where you just you sponsor it and I film it and document the entire thing and I meet people along the way? Because that would be epic. I'll put that out there. Not that I'm stealing your idea of Baker McCool, but I'm going to call it the Baker McCool adventure. No, I wouldn't. That would be rude. Okay, things on my list. I talked about the Grand Canyon rim to rim to rim, the PCT, specifically the portion between Portland and Seattle, the Wonderland Trail around Mount Rainier, John Muir Trail. Now, the John Muir Trail is a very large section. I believe it is 215. Yeah, let's see. The John Muir Trail is the premier hiking trail in the United States. I'm reading from the website, so of course they'd say something like that. It is definitely up there. The trail starts in America's Treasure, Yosemite National Park, and continues 215 miles through the Ansel Adams Wilderness, Sequoia National Park, Kings Canyon National Park, and ends at the highest peak in the continental United States, Mount Whitney, at 14,496 feet. Epic is a great description. This one would be amazing. Having run a very short section of the John Muir Trail in Yosemite, you just get a taste. You get a taste of the beauty that you would see on this particular trail. 215 miles means you'd have to break it into sections, unless of course you're a badass motherfucker like Hal Corner. Who did it with Hal Corner? I forget who did it with him. I think it was Wolf or Foot. I think it was Foot. And they ran the whole thing. They got the FKT on that particular journey, but that was also from the reverse direction of what I just described. So they started at Whitney and finished in Yosemite. I would do it either way, and I would do the shit out of it. That sounds awesome. I would love to do it. To cut it up into like a 5-day adventure, 40 to 50 miles a day would be awesome. Yeah, having explored a little bit of Yosemite and that national park, it just gives you a taste. Just gives you a taste of what California really has to offer. I know Kings Canyon and the Sequoia National Park are just insane. I haven't done much camping up there, but bucket list for sure. John Muir Trail. Back to the emails from Adam Walton. Dream running adventure. Yo, dude, my dream running adventure would be to through run the Appalachian Trail. It would be incredible to be out in the woods and mountains for a few months, running every single day and being completely self-reliant to get from point A to point B in just my body and mind. And can only really learn a lot about himself on an endurance adventure. One can only learn a lot about himself on an endurance adventure like that. I'll be tuning in tonight, so have a sweet show and keep up the good work. You're the shit, Adam. Perfect. Love it. I haven't ever gone on the Appalachian Trail, but I believe it is the East Coast version of the PCT, the Pacific Crest Trail. So I can only imagine how awesome it is. That would be a huge undertaking, but dude, you could totally do it. It's just a matter of being able to go, you know what, I can take some time off from work, time off from friends and parties, and spend a couple months with myself out in nature, enjoying it and living, and really, really living. A good example of something very similar, Gary Robbins, who the race director for Squamish. We had him on an early episode of the show with terrible internet. I can't wait to bring him back on so we can talk specifically about these particular things. He has the FKT on the East Coast Trail, which is the Canadian version of the Appalachian Trail, which essentially goes from the south to the north of the east coast of Canada. I forget how many hundreds of miles it is. It's a lot, and it took him a long time to do, but he just continued day after day after day after day after day. I believe it took him 5 days or something, maybe not even that long. Oh, I got to look this up. It's going to be terrible. Or we'll just bring him on the show and actually talk to him about it. But there's a video on his YouTube channel where he documents the whole thing. He is the original ginger runner in the sense that he's taken a GoPro and he's documenting these incredible adventures. He has the FKT on the West Coast Trail, and then 2 weeks later goes and gets the FKT on the East Coast Trail. Can't believe the guy did it. He did. Incredible. So it is possible. You can do these huge, epic hundreds of miles of distances in a endless amount, or not endless, but in a non-stop approach to that particular distance. That is like an adventure, running adventure beyond what I think I'm capable of doing, which means it's definitely possible. It's just you have to train for it and get ready for it. So that one sounds epic. Back to the chat room. Chris Vargo says, seeing the pics from Zagama, that will definitely be on my calendar next year. Holy crap, right? Zagama just happened this last weekend. Another one of the Sky Running series. Killian Jornet won the men's race, and I believe, what was her name? I can't believe I'm forgetting. An American woman won the female version, and I just watched her interview on I Run Far today, and she's a delight. She had no idea that she was going to win it. She was completely nervous the entire time, thinking that the girls were chasing her down, but she ended up winning it. That looks epic as well. Totally muddy mountain technical, just crazy race. Those Europeans, they do it to the next level. Russell Anderson, also very interested in fast packing, basically through running. Yeah, I am too. So I know that Ultimate Direction is working on fast packing backpacks, stuff that is specifically designed to do fast packing. I'd be curious to find out more about those and if they actually work, because I'm looking for something that would work as a running pack that doesn't have that, it's not like a huge lumbar supported backpack type of thing that is just impossible to run with. I'm looking for something more minimal that can stash an ultralight sleeping bag, maybe some sort of small structure that you could set up as a tent or a hammock, a tiny portable stove, and like some food. Very, very minimal. Have you investigated the Sugarloaf Marathon, says Cam. I have not. What is it? I'm investigating now. Tell me. I gotta keep drinking. How am I not drinking? Sorry about that. Spike Your Kofi, I apologize for the pronunciation, says PCT is amazing. Hiked it twice through. That is awesome. So let me ask you then, Spike. Spike Your Kofi, I'm guessing is, first and last name. What was it like? I mean, how much preparation did you have to do? Did you have to have drops? Did you have people send you food at various stops, or did you do a certain amount of mileage every day so you could get to certain towns and be able to eat and sleep? How much camping did you do on trail? I've heard stories of people just rolling out a sleeping bag and just sleeping on the trail. And after running the PCT this weekend, 50 miles essentially of the PCT, I can totally see that being possible. There were multiple campsites on this particular stretch that we ran, but for the stretches that are more remote, I can see just rolling out a sleeping bag, sleeping out under the stars, and just enjoying it. And any major animal encounters, because you run into some pretty remote areas, and I imagine animal encounters are, I don't want to call them frequent, but they do happen. So let me know, Spike. I'd love to pick your brain about that kind of thing, because I love it. All right, back to my list. Grand Canyon, PCT, Wonderland Trail, John Muir Trail, the Dolomites, the Italian Dolomites. My two guests on next week's show have a movie that they recently made that takes place in Patagonia, where they run the OW Trail. I won't get into much more detail about that, other than go watch it. I think you can rent it on their Vimeo channel, which is Wolf Schlarb Productions, or Schlarb Wolf Schlarb. Go find it. It is awesome. It is awesome. It's basically getting the FKT on the OW Trail down in Patagonia. But they have a video that they put out that you can watch in its entirety, where they go to the Italian Dolomites and over the course of 5 days run this amazing, I believe it's like 100-mile or 150-mile section of the Italian Dolomites. And they talk about the refugios, which are these beautiful structures like houses, hotels sort of, that you can stay in. So you can run to these refugios, stay the night, have like a beautiful dinner, breakfast the next morning, beer, wine, whatever you want, and then you continue running. So you really can pack light. All you need to pack is like a change of clothes, really, because you can just run to these refugios. And I'm like, this is awesome. This is like the true running adventure, where you don't necessarily have to worry about like camping and logistics. You just run refugio to refugio, and you can kind of plan it almost as you go along, because there's hundreds and hundreds of miles of trails up there, a lot of mountaineering and a lot of like real technical stuff. So you will definitely have to get your skill level up. But they document some of their journey doing the Dolomites. And just watching that go, it's on my list. Yeah, I want to go to Italy, and I want to run on the Dolomites. That is on my list. Cody Van Roekel, speaking of fast packing, there is a fast packing mountain running store in Bishop, California called Sage to Summit. Pretty cool shop. I hope fast packing gets more popular. Me too, Cody. And the more that I do this, the more that I'm falling in love with that idea of getting in touch with nature just a little bit faster than hiking, where you're still enjoying all the benefits of hiking. You're just going over a long distance a little bit faster. And I love that idea of being able to run with a pack with everything you need right there on your back, everything that you need to kind of survive. It kind of takes it down to its most basic necessities, which I've heard is kind of what happens if you do the PCT. You start with way too much. You realize you don't need nearly as much, and you start to downsize and send stuff back to family members as you go on the PCT. So by the end, your pack is probably a good 20 or 30 pounds lighter, purely because you're that could be an overestimation, maybe 5 to 10 pounds lighter, purely because you're removing the items that don't really influence your comfort one way or the other. You just kind of get used to carrying less. Patrick Forsyth, I'd love to do Comrades someday. Road race, but pretty dang long. I've been to South Africa once and loved it. Any excuse to go back. Patrick, yeah, and the Comrades is coming up in just days. I believe it's just days. And the live stream is, what, 12 hours straight of live streaming? And I just saw a video today where there's a woman and her crew that are doing 10 Comrades in a row. They're calling it 10-10 because Comrades, I believe, I forget how many miles it is. It's over 40 miles. But they're doing 10 of them, one a day for 10 days, 900 kilometers. It's just incredible. Just incredible. Ultra Trail du Mont Blanc, UTMB, one day. That's from Dasha. Yeah, I didn't add that to my list, but that is definitely up there as well. That just sounds incredible. UTMB, for sure. Living Blogamoni says, Sugarloaf Marathon is in Maine in mid-May. Rolling hills, mostly downgraded, fabulous views, tons of great reviews. Might have to add that. Sounds awesome. Russell Anderson, Osprey is what a few of the people around here use for fast packing. Yeah, Osprey, their backpacks are great. They're very light. They can get really minimal. There's a whole range of backpacks for that. I'd be curious how they would work with running. I don't know if they specialize in running packs, but maybe they specialize in fast packing packs. Camino de Santiago, epic. I agree, Anna Bellin. Okay, this show is getting long. I didn't expect it to be this long. All right, so that was from Adam. Okay, here we go. So here's my list, guys. I'm going to continue with my list. Let me check on the Twitters. Okay, no one's using the hashtag. I understand. No one gets it. I understand. Okay. Grand Canyon, Rim to Rim to Rim, PCT, Wonderland Trail, John Muir Trail, the Dolomites, Mount Fuji. I'm going to add Mount Fuji on there. I've never been to Japan. I have always wanted to go to Japan. I've always wanted to be in the presence of Mount Fuji. I've wanted to summit Mount Fuji. And after watching the UTMF a month and a half ago, and seeing the stories and hearing the adventures that people had during that race, I don't necessarily want to add that race to my list. I, of course, would love to. It is extremely difficult. I believe it is a 105-mile race around Mount Fuji. I would love to do some sort of tour around that area and really kind of immerse myself in the Japanese culture and the scenery surrounding that mountain and the history and the mystique of Mount Fuji. Be incredible. That is just on my list of things that would be epic. Now, these next two are my final two on my list, and I have to pull up one of them just because I want to make sure I get the stats right. These are probably my top two. The first one is, I would say, number 2, and then the last one I'm going to end with is my number 1, and something that I'm probably going to do in 2015, just because it has to be done, because I am that addicted to doing it. I talk about it, I research it, I try to find videos on it all the time, and there's very little. There is information on it, but it's kind of far and few between, and the videos I've already watched like 10 times. Okay, so second up on the list is the Lost Coast Trail. It's shorter, it's a shorter distance, but it's basically right in the northern area of California. The Highway 1, the Pacific Coast Highway, runs most of the length of California up into Oregon, up into Washington. It runs just along the coast. The Big Sur Marathon takes place on that highway. You just run along it. But there's a section of the California coast where that highway cuts inland and comes back out to the coast, and it's over the course of like an 80-mile section of land. When they were building the highway, they deemed that area too dangerous to build the highway on. And if you've been through Big Sur, Monterey, and Carmel, you know that that must be extremely dangerous, because some of those roads are built on just sheer cliffs. So the fact that they thought that that was too dangerous and turned the highway inland means that it's some crazy-ass coastal shit. It's called the Lost Coast Trail. I believe it is 24 miles long. There's a particular trail. Yeah, okay. It says a 24-mile, 3-day backpacking trip along the California coast. It's a 24-mile trail. Most people will take 3 days to do it. In my particular case, it would be a 1-day thing. But what makes it special is that a lot of the trail, I would almost say 50% or so of the trail, if not more, takes place on the beach. So you're running along the beach, and you have to pay attention to tide tables because there's a couple miles, like 3 or 4 mile stretch where you have to get through that before the tide comes in. Otherwise, the trail is under 10 feet of water. I am so into this because there's this, I don't know if it's this added element. I don't want to call it danger, but I would say preparedness that you have to go into this particular, we'll call it a run, because if you're going to do 24 miles in a day, you might as well call it a run. But there's just this certain level of preparedness that you have for this particular trail. Because if you get to a point that you can't continue on because the water's too high and the trail is underwater, you have to wait. You have to wait for the tide to go back out, and then you have to, book it before the tide comes back in. So I guess it's extremely challenging in that respect because sometimes the tide doesn't necessarily play by the rules and all these other factors. You can get stranded in little inlets where the tide comes up too fast, and all of a sudden you can't go anywhere, and you're literally stuck standing on a cliffside because the water is covering the trail. But the trail also comes up onto the high cliffs and traverses some through the redwoods and all this crazy, crazy scenery. It is absolutely on the list. It is something that I want to do. It is something that takes a lot of research and planning because not many people are allowed to run it. And most people, if you do start it, they say you have to take 2 or 3 days, and there's certain places that you can stop. And if you tell them that you're running it, they may not necessarily want you to do that because I think you have to park in one area, you have to get a pass, and all that kind of stuff. So that sounds awesome, right? There's some videos online of people who have done it in a day, fast-packed it. So it's totally doable. It's just a matter of got to plan it. You got to plan that one ahead. The final one. Okay, actually, I'm going to go to the comments before I move on. Jamil says, Ginger, what about the Himalayas, either India or Nepal? Like I said, I don't do well with elevation. It takes me a long time to acclimate. This weekend was really surprising to me that at 8,800 feet, 9,000 feet, no problems, which I was really excited about. We camped out at 8,000-ish feet, and I was a little restless, but otherwise good. No headaches, nothing like that, so all was well. And my running didn't feel hampered at all either day. I was definitely tired day one, summiting up to 9,000 feet, but that was also because you're going straight up a mountain to do it. So when you're talking about Himalayas in India or Nepal, that scares the shit out of me, because now we're not talking 10,000 feet of elevation or even 14,000 feet of elevation. We're talking 18, 20, 22,000 feet. Which is, another league. So, yes, I'll just say yes. Maybe someday. That would be on the list. Dasha says, North Face in New York, Bear Mountain is tough. I totally agree. Those North Face races, the 50K, the 50 milers across the country and international, they always make them tough. That's like part of their whole thing, is make them tough. Oh, yeah, Jamil, that's right. Jamil's saying that he did the Barkley Fun Run this year. I will say that Barkley is on my list of run adventures, but also with a caveat that, I don't want to die, so I'd like it to be a living run adventure. For those of you who don't know, search the Barkley Marathon, Barclays, however they refer to it. It is no joke. It is one of those races that a tiny fraction of people who have ever attempted it have finished it. Maybe 1 or 2 finishers a year over the last couple years. There have been years where no one finishes. It is one of those races that when you research it and you study it, you either go, oh, fuck no, or you go, interesting, but fuck no. So the fact that Jamil attempted it and did the fun run, which is, Jamil, please tell me the details on that, because I don't have that pulled up in front of me. But when you finish the Barkley Fun Run, that means you've attempted the Barkley Marathons, but you've only completed 2 of the 5 loops, I believe, or 5 out and backs, or is it 3? I forget. Basically, it takes people days to finish this. It is no joke, and the mileage will be a certain thing. I believe the mileage is 100 to 140 miles. And it has taken people 3 days, I believe, 2 or 3 days. So Jamil is, if you've done it, Jamil, you're going to be a perfect source of material, like reference material. So I would love to to know some of the stats on that for the people in the chat room, for those of us who will watch the archive version of this particular show. So let me get to the last one on my list of running adventures that I would like to do, and as we're approaching our hour of the show, and that is the West Coast Trail. This is the one that I have been researching a long time. It is number one on my list of trails that I must complete at some point. I would like to do a one-day version of this, so completing it in one go. This particular trail is 47 miles long, which on paper, for those of you who have run ultramarathons before, doesn't seem like a lot. 47 miles doesn't seem like a lot. It is, because it takes most people 5 to 7 days to hike it, minimum, I believe. It runs the entire west coast of Vancouver Island in British Columbia. It has sections where you're running on sand. It has sections where you're running on beach. And why those are different is because some beaches just rock, and the waves come up, and you have to run through the waves. There are sections where you run through beautiful, lush rainforest up on cliff sides, rainforest just right there on the ocean. There are bear encounters frequently. There are no bridges. You have to take, well, there are bridges, but there are river crossings where you have to get into those trams and pull yourself across. There are multiple ladder ascents and descents. Basically, it's extremely technical. Basically, everything you could throw at an ultra runner to make it more difficult for them to complete this in a specific amount of time, this race has it. Other than elevation and heat, really, because I don't think it gets super hot there because you're right on the ocean, and you have a view of the ocean pretty much the entire time. Gary Robbins currently has the FKT on this particular course. I was trying to find it today. I didn't spend enough time looking for it. I'm going to see if I can pull it up here. Let's see, Gary. I'm just going to Google it real quick. But while I do, it's one of those trails that you look at, you see pictures of, you see videos of, and Gary Robbins actually filmed his FKT, so you can go find that also on his YouTube channel. It looks incredible. It's like an otherworldly. It feels like Endor from Star Wars, the planet Endor. Just jungle, rainforest, lush ferns, grass, green trees, everything that you could possibly know or want in a particular race. Okay, Gary Robbins ran the West Coast Trail in 10 hours, 8 minutes, and 50 seconds. Gary Robbins is an extremely fast trail runner, specifically on technical terrain. So if it took him 10 hours and 8 minutes and 50 seconds to traverse 47 miles over lowland trails, it just goes to show you how technical it is. It's not an easy feat. So for someone like me, I imagine it would take closer to 15 or 16 hours. Hopefully faster than that. I really couldn't estimate because I've never seen the trail. It is by far my number one running adventure that I would like to do someday, because you're also surrounded by all this lush forest and trail work that you can just go, you can camp for a couple nights, you can enjoy some of the local scenery, and then you can go out and attempt the FKT, or go out and just run the trail, or go out and just explore sections of it and enjoy camping if you want to take more time. So you can actually split it up into 3, 4, 5 days if you wanted to do it that way, which a lot of people do. There's multiple locations where you can camp, like near waterfalls and on the beach and up in the woods. And so that's on my list. That is my number one. So yeah, that's it for kind of my inspiration of like these goals and adventures that I would like to go on eventually, adding them to my list. But like I said, as you guys send me more and tell me more about some of your running adventures that you would like to partake in, the phone is going to ring for a minute because no one's here to answer it. I would like to add those to my list as well. So I appreciate you guys throwing those out there. Let's see what's going on in the chat room. If you do the Camino de Santiago on the northern route, you will get to eat some of the most amazing restaurants in the world, plus all the beaches and fishing villages in the north of Spain. It says Anne Belen Onstedt. That, I believe there's a movie that takes place on the Camino de Santiago. I think it stars some pretty big, I forget who it is. It's in it. Big actors are in it. Great description. Hey, there's this movie about this thing that some actors are in. Yeah, go watch it. Oh yeah, Benjamin Nichols. I love how they call it the fun run, referring to the Barclays. Yeah, I totally agree. Thank you for calling it a fun run. I'm sure it was just a blast. Though, Jamil, maybe you can correct me and say it was, in fact, a blast. All right, I'm just not catching up. The chat room just loaded a bunch of comments. But then if I was running a beautiful place like you do, I might want to go longer. Oh my God, so much more updating here. Am I the only one here who thinks 26.2 miles in one day is more than enough? It says running made super easy. No, you are not the only one. It is. It is a lot. And it is a lot to train for and a lot to set as a goal. So no, you are not alone. Jim McGuckin, that run sounds beast. Outrunning the tide, like the time I tried to race the sun across Camelback Mountain and got stuck up there in the dark. Yeah, like you don't want to fuck with nature too much, right? So in this particular one, you're outrunning the tide, which sounds weird because you don't want to die or get washed out to sea on the same part of the coast that they were unable to build a highway on. Yeah, you don't want to fuck with that. But it still sounds amazing. Running made it super easy, says again, but then if I was running in beautiful places like you do, I might want to run longer. That is also why I do what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to do as much mileage as possible because you are enjoying these incredibly scenic places. So I'm actually going to get to more of these comments in the chat room in the post show. So if you guys would like to stick around and watch that, please do. I'm not going anywhere. But for those of you who are watching the archive version of this, I would like to thank you for doing so. You can subscribe to this channel, youtube.com/thegingerrunner. I will be doing this particular show every single week, live at 6 p.m. Pacific every Monday. And I post new videos as well every Thursday or Friday, sometimes Saturday morning, if I have a lot of planning to do for that weekend's run adventure, and I only have a certain amount of time to edit the video, as was the case this last week. So subscribe, because you're going to get 2 pieces of awesome content a week for free. It's pretty awesome, and I love doing this show, Ginger Runner Live. So it's a great opportunity to get to chat with you guys and see you guys as well. So make sure that you subscribe to this channel. You can also follow me on all the social networks over on Twitter at The Ginger Runner, on Facebook, facebook.com/TheGingerRunner, and of course Instagram at Ethan Newberry. I posted some photos from this last weekend's run adventure, and I like doing that. So go follow me at Ethan Newberry over there, and GingerRunner.com. That's the home for all things ginger and fun and all that good stuff. I want to keep this dialogue going, so if you guys want to use the hashtag GingerRunnerLive, let me know some of your dream running adventures, places around the globe that you would like to go, races you would like to participate in, short runs, long runs, maybe even something in your backyard that you just need to build up the confidence to go and do. Maybe it's running at night. Maybe it's running the 5-mile section of trail that takes you to the top of a peak behind your house or something that you haven't had the confidence to do because you didn't think you could do it. Let me know. Let me know, and I'll share those, and we can all talk about them and stuff like that. Or continue to let me know in the comments below. I'm going to kind of catch up with that in the post show. And don't forget, there is going to be a podcast version of this particular episode. I'm actually 2 episodes behind. I'll be posting those tonight, so you'll be able to get those downloaded on iTunes. The iTunes link will be in the description of this video as well. Don't forget, next week we have Jeremy Wolf, Jason Schlarb talking about their film that they shot while they were in Patagonia, setting possibly an FKT of the OW Trail. I'm not going to give anything away, but the film is awesome. Go check it out on their Vimeo channel. You won't want to miss it. It is absolutely worth your time. And I believe the rental fee, I don't know what the exact dollar amount is, but just rent it or buy it and download it. It's good, and it's inspiring, and it's very well made. And we'll talk to them because they're coming on the show next week, and I cannot wait. They are like true run adventurers, and I love it. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it for today's show. We'll see you guys in the post show. Thanks again for tuning in to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 16. We'll see you guys next week for number 17. Stick around for the post show. Yeah, all right. Yeah, good show. There's a lot of me talking, because apparently that's what happens when I'm the only one on it. Which is fine. I don't get the chance to actually drink my beer. Which is my roommate. Pow-show. Pow-show. So this is actually really good, but it's less good when I have it wrapped in my warm hand and the beer is no longer nice and chilly. So let's go to the chat room. You guys were saying so much stuff, and I'm so sorry that the chat room on YouTube just particularly doesn't like to load and refresh very frequently. So when I click reload, it finally does it, and all of a sudden 1,000 comments pull up. Okay, so running, let's see, yeah, Baker McCool, again, the name, awesome. So for you, 93.7 mile week, I'm curious about footwear. How many pairs did you rotate? Favorite shoes for the weekend? Okay. So you can follow me on Strava. You can just go check out Ginger Runner. I believe just search for Ginger Runner on Strava or search for Ethan Newberry. I don't know how the search works on Strava, but it breaks down my daily mileage, what all my runs were, and what shoes I wore for each run. I was rotating through some that I have reviews coming up for, including Newton's. Um, for this weekend, the 2 long runs, I ran Saturday in the Salomon Sense Pro, which I very much like. And for that particular run, I needed something that would work on really technical ups and downs because I was summiting some mountain stuff, and the trail was fairly technical. So I stuck with those. They got shredded. They totally got shredded. Huge holes burrowed right through them from multiple things. There was a piece of metal rebar sticking out of the ground near a spring where I was getting fresh water from a spring, and my foot happened to be underneath this piece of metal rebar. So when I stepped out of this particular area from the spring to run back out onto the trail, it caught on the top of my shoe and just ripped it. Just totally shredded that shoe. I was able to continue running, no problem. Thank God it didn't cut into my foot or do any sort of damage to my foot. But I wasn't going to run on those again. The next day, I am running in the Ultra Olympus right now for review, which is the trail version of the Paradigm, which I already reviewed, and I loved it because it was such a great recovery / long distance trail shoe. I had no problems on Sunday running the 27 plus miles in the Olympus. It was great, absolutely great. But I'll get to that review in probably a couple weeks. Since I just did 2 Ultra reviews simultaneously last week, I'm probably going to save the Olympus for a couple of weeks. Do the Newtons possibly next week. From Benjamin Nichols, Jim almost grabbed onto a tarantula on Camelback this morning. Scared the hell out of me. Holy shit. Why would you just grab a tarantula? I'm guessing it was because it was either dark or you didn't know it was a tarantula and you just thought it was a rock. That doesn't sound good at all. Samuel Smith, 2 miles per day is enough if it's all you have time for or capacity for. I agree. You don't have to worry about doing 26.2 miles. If that's long to you, then that's long to you. I remember when running 6 miles was long to me, and it terrified me. The idea, and I actually got a comment on my Facebook page just a couple days ago while I was out, and it kind of made me kind of reflect back. And actually, I'll go see if I can read the comment because I think it would be beneficial to all of us to hear this. Let me just pull it up. It won't take me but more than a second. Okay, this came from Timothy Riley. So Timothy Riley says, can you recommend a hydration pack carrier system and where to get one? My wife and I are training for our first marathon, and our training run should begin getting longer than an hour soon. I think I would be partial to the belt carrier type, but I've never worn any of them. Do the belt ones tend to sag or ride hard on the hips? Okay, so a couple of things stood out for me when I read this particular comment. One was, you don't need a hydration pack for an hour-long run or more, or even a couple hours. But when I was at that stage, when I was running for 40 minutes, 50 minutes, and then I finally got to that threshold of an hour, I was terrified. I was terrified of going past that hour mark for 2 reasons. One, I didn't think I could do it. I didn't think that I could physically run longer than an hour. And then 2, the logistics of getting hydration and getting nutrition blew my mind. How many gels do I have to carry for that? How much water do I have to drink for that? Do I need to take salt tablets? Like, do I need to do this? Do I need to do this beforehand? Do I need to do this afterhand? All these things confused me and then kind of made it difficult for me to actually do what I needed to do, which was run more than an hour. So in this particular case, I had to let them know, if you really need something, you don't need a hydration pack. You maybe just need a handheld. Just pull a water bottle and put it on your hand and do that kind of thing, and you can get 20 to 24 ounces of water with you. If you're running in the city, it's really easy to refill multiple locations. You can go to a Starbucks, walk in, and ask them to just refill your water bottle. I've done it. It's totally fine. You don't have to buy anything. Or go buy a bottle of water at like a 7-Eleven or a grocery store or something like that and drink it like that. So when you're running in the city, you don't even need to carry a handheld. But when you're out in the trails, perhaps there's no water out there. So when you're running for longer than an hour or 2 hours, maybe you need to carry a handheld or two. If you're averaging 20 to 24 ounces of intake liquid per hour, which is average, you'll need to determine that for yourself. But then I also recommended that if you're running for longer than 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours, and you're out there, even if you're in the city, it's just easier to carry something like a hydration pack so you don't have to worry about stopping, and you can just plan on going, just going. So I just remember at that stage in my running when I was terrified of that distance, and it was for like logistical reasons. And you get over that hump and you realize, oh, it wasn't that bad. Like you just had to kind of think through it, or you just had to experience it. And so running the 26.2 miles that you were talking about, and having that be like just an incredibly long distance, that's because it is. The more you build up to that, the more time you spend training and the more time you spend going these longer distances, it becomes easier to digest. It's like the gap between a half marathon and a marathon. It takes some people a long time to make that jump between running a half marathon and then committing to a full marathon. It's because there's that whole unknown. You're running double the distance, and it's just a big pill to swallow, but it's totally possible for anybody.
I brought you a cold one.
Oh yeah, I've got another one. Oh, look at this. My roommate brought me. Is that one cold still?
No.
No. No, this one's ice cold. Look at this. It's a Red Hook Audible Ale. Thank you, buddy. That was very nice of him. So rather than drinking this warm beer, I get a nice ice cold one. And he even popped the top. I'm gonna double it. That's way better. Just because it's cold. Okay. Jim McGuckin. Yeah, I had a run-in with the Rattler last time I was there. Yeah, I love running into Rattlers. They're terrifying. They've been out in full force in Southern California. Jameel Curry says, okay, this goes back to the Barclays. Jameel finally, I'm sorry, man, the chat wasn't updating. 3 out of 5 loops is the fun run at Barclays, which is nuts, dude. Just nuts. To even be able to finish that is incredible. So major props to you. Have you written a blog about it, or have you documented your journey to run the fun run at Barclays? Because it's look at my hair. What is it doing? It's just exploding out. It's something that I would love to attempt. I'd be terrified of attempting it, but like I was just talking, it would be amazing. Jim McGuckin, on the golf course side, about a mile up where I would have gotten no help in time. Oh, I got you. Tarantula, rattlers, and stuff like that. Jamil says for Barclays, each loop is 25 miles roughly. I was out there just shy of 40 hours, and Jared Campbell, who finished this year, was over 57 hours for 125 miles. Unbelievable. It's over 2 days, guys. It's over 2 days. Almost 2.5 days running straight 125 miles. Figuring that it takes some people less than 24 hours to run 100 to 135 miles, like Badwater, it took the winner of Barclays, who managed to finish, 2.5 days. 2.5 days to run 125 miles. Incredible. Jim McGuckin, stopped to take off my headphones because I had this feeling I needed to be able to hear. Looked down and started to hear the rattle. Oh, man. Rattlesnakes. Terrifying. Can't handle it. Fat Dog, 120 miler. Oh, yeah. Fat Dog. That actually sounds... I've heard about that. That sounds fun, too. Sorry, guys. Just going through the comments. They're talking about the Rattler still. So sorry, guys. Rattlers suck. They terrify me. I see them a lot, especially in the last month or 2 months in Southern California. Some of the trails, you really have to pay attention. You have to have Rattler vision totally on. Yeah, 10 hours, 8 minutes, 50 seconds, Gary Robbins, West Coast Trail. What trail is this? I'm assuming you were talking about the West Coast Trail. Felix Perron, my aunt has done the West Coast Trail and said it was the hardest run she has ever done, and she has done Nepal, India, and countless ultras. That's not boding well for my dream. Thank you, Felix, for shattering that. Fully aware of the fact that it is extremely difficult. I've run Squamish, and that is technical, and I imagine West Coast Trail is far more technical. It's because it's a trail that is not often tread on, or not frequently enough to be like a nice, buffed out single track. I think it's really rough in some places. There's a lot of bushwhacking involved. There's a lot of log crossings where there might be just a huge mud slough, but the only way to get across it is someone just put a log down. So you have to do some sort of log balancing acts and stuff like that. It can get really muddy. It's extremely overgrown, just even above your head. So you have to duck through like plant caves. The bridges are replaced with pulley systems. There's so many elements to this particular trail. Hundreds of feet of ladder in a row. I mean, you can go and watch these videos, including Gary Robbins' video. There's a couple others that are a little bit more polished films. You'll watch it and go, that looks impossible. It also looks really awesome. Looks really fun. and it gets warm. Samuel Smith says, YYJ in the house. We can help with WCT logistics. Would love that. Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, so Samuel says it gets warm out there. That'd be awesome. I would love to do that. It is on my list. I'm going to refresh the chat room because every time I do, it always helps. Yep, of course. As soon as I do it, there we go. Lots more comments. Just love it. All right, guys, give me 1 second. Scrolling back up. For those of you who are just tuning in, this is the post show for Ginger Runner Live, episode number 16. We've talked about running adventures. What are some of your running adventures? Why is this? No one's using the hashtag Ginger Runner Live. Can someone, just any one of you on Twitter, use hashtag Ginger Runner Live? I want to see if my Twitter thing is working, or I can just post, or it just pulls up automatic updates. You can even just say, "Hi, I like beer." I don't care. I just want to make sure that my live feed of that comes through, in case people have questions when I have guests on and stuff like that. Okay, sorry guys, scrolling up. Chris Vargo's still here. Nice, dude. I thought he took off and take care of his dog or some bullshit. All right, here we go. Pick up the phone. Oh, so, that's from a long time ago. Yeah, it's my roommate's phone, and he's out, so he wasn't picking it up. Sammy Smith, don't forget Cougars. Oh, yeah, and timing the ferry crossing at Susiet Falls and the Narrows. I forgot about that, Sam. I believe Gary Robbins called ahead or planned it ahead, so they knew to expect him at a certain time, right, for the FKT, because there's a ferry crossing, and you basically have to wait either for them to be on your side or for them to pick up enough hikers to come to your side, and then vice versa. They have to wait for hikers on your side to make it worthy for them to make. I think it's the logistics of that make it pretty difficult to take care of. Yeah, Patrick Forsyth, Martin Sheen. He is in the movie about the Camino de Santiago. Thank you. Thank you. Jim McGuckin, I need to move back to Arizona. Ana Bien Anastat The Way, directed by Emilio Estevez, stars his dad. Yes. Yes. How I didn't remember during the live show, I don't know. I'm an idiot. John Murray, at what point in an ultra or a marathon do your legs start to get sore and tired? Mile 1? Yeah. No. I think it depends on your conditioning. I tend to get pretty fatigued. So even just this weekend, Saturday, I was fatigued at mile 11 pretty early on. And I think it was because of, 1, altitude. 2, I had summited pretty much 2 peaks at that point, had probably put in 4,000 feet of elevation. So it was tough. It was tough. So by mile 11, everything was just like really tight and sore. I've been having some nerve stuff down my right leg as well, down the back of my right leg, and that's been causing just some discomfort. And my feet were also really sore. I think it was because of the more minimal shoes on some pretty technical stuff, and they were cramping my feet a little bit. So my feet were really sore. But yesterday, I just felt good pretty much the whole day. For 27 miles, the day after running 21 miles on technical stuff. And I don't know. I mean, I took it pretty easy. I definitely was getting tired towards the end, and my whole body was just like not wanting to continue to move on. But it was never like I was in pain or super sore. So it really depends. It depends on what sort of race it is, how well I've been tapered, or how well I've been trained. Gorge 50K, I took that one fairly moderate, took time to film it, and felt pretty good throughout the entire race, and felt better towards the end when I was finishing than I did right in the middle section. So it's tough. And you ask me, and it'll be different when you ask someone like Chris Vargo, who just never gets sore. I don't know. It kind of depends. Sorry, that doesn't answer your question totally specifically. Running made super easy. Jealous of those pics you post on Facebook. Oh, don't be jealous. Go live it. It's easier said than done. I'm just very fortunate that I make scheduling stuff like that a priority. So rather than staying in town and enjoying the barbecue with my friends, my roommates, I was out camping and enjoying, running on the trail. So you kind of have to pick your battles, I guess. And my social life is that now, which is kind of sad. But it's finding the people to go running with and go out into the high country and enjoying that. So we can all do it. No need to be jealous. Let's just plan it. Chris Vargo asked Jamil, would love to meet up for a run after I get back from racing this weekend. Aw, you guys, Ginger Runner Live, creating relationships. Love it. Chris Vargo, Jamil. Get it on, guys. I don't mean sexually. I mean get your run on, because you both are badasses. You both are badasses. Jamil says, I'm in taper mode next week for SD100, but hopefully soon. Jamil, you're going to love SD100. Some beautiful trails. You have done it before, maybe? I'm trying to finish this one so I can get into the cold one. Annabelle Unstopped says, Scary Dream Run is Pikes Peak ascent over 2,000 meters of elevation gains, about 6,000 feet. I would say add more than that. Do it. I've seen videos. It's on my list of things eventually to do someday. It's at altitude, and it includes a shit ton more of altitude. It's no joke. It's no joke, but it's doable. I mean, there's lots of people out there that are doing it that you look at them and go, how are you doing this? But they do it. A lot of people can do it. So add it to your list. Chris Fargo says, Arizona is damn amazing. Chris Fargo, for those of you who don't know, friend of the show, just recently moved to Arizona and is enjoying the crap out of it. Talked to him a little bit about it during his stay here in Southern California for the Who's in El Moro race, and he loves it. And Chris, I can't wait to come visit you, and you can take us on a tour of the Grand Canyon so we can actually make that happen. I'd like that. Jim McGuckin, Train Race Beer Group. What's the Train Race Beer Group? Are you talking about the one on Strava? MR Fishery, woohoo, can't wait for the Newtons reviews, Ethan. Yeah, I can't wait to put them out. I've had the Newtons for a while, and I've run them a couple times, and definitely have my opinions on them. And they're good. I mean, I think they're great Newtons, so that's kind of the rough of it. Jim McGuckin, Benj gets that love every day. I just have memories. Sabrina Redden, I heard if you wear Solomon shoes, you have to wear spandex. Is this true? Yes. If you wear Solomon shoes, you have to wear spandex, whether it's shorts, long tights, or top. You have to wear, everything has to be super tight, and you have to be extremely skinny, and you have to speak either Spanish or French. That's basically it. Even if you're American, you have to speak that way. Unless you're Gary Robin, you can wear whatever the hell you want and have a nice big ginger beard and be epic, because he's also a Solomon runner. White spandex, says Chris Fargo. I agree. That's the only way to wear Solomon shoes, Sabrina. Jim McGuckin, Ben, you ever do the flat rock on Camelback off to the left of the main trail? You guys are talking about specific trails. Camelback, where is Camelback? That's my question for you guys. Jamil, switch to Solomons. I need to see this. Apparently, Sabrina really wants to see Jamil in white spandex. Jamil says, I think Solomon spandex is dead. Killian was wearing regular running shorts at Zagama. I agree. I think, while I don't necessarily think spandex is dead, I think it's going to be used by a select group of people who need it for specific reasons. I like my Solomon spandex shorts. I wear those fairly frequently, purely because they have a compression aspect to them, more so than any shorts that have the liner. But I do agree. I think the Solomon shorter shorts that have that storage pocket up top are still going to be kind of the go-to now. A little bit more loose-fitting type stuff. But whatever Killian wears is going to be the trend. So whatever Solomon wants him to wear will be the trend. Ethan, I was really wondering, at what point in a marathon or an ultra does your leg start getting tired? Oh, sorry, John. Again, like I said, it depends. I think I answered your question. Hopefully that I answered it before you or after you wrote what you just wrote. I wear either Nike or Under Armour undies under my shorts, no chafing. Short shorts are good too. Jim, are you talking about wearing those kind of undies underneath your shorts while the shorts have liners? Because that would be interesting. Oh, D's nuts on the inner thighs is the ticket, says Baker McCool. Are you talking about lube? Because I use D's nuts as well, and I also use anti-chafe, the anti-chafe cream. That solves the problem too. Chris Vargo says, I wear 2.5-inch Nike shorty shorts. Chris Vargo probably wears the shortest shorts I have ever seen on a human being. He's also a tiny human being, so he's allowed to. And he also looks like a lady when he does. So there you go. Good job, Chris Vargo. Cheers for another great show, says Russell. Thanks, dude. Yeah, I mean, this one was just me talking to you guys, but talking about running adventures, and hopefully it entertained you guys for a while. That's basically the whole goal of the show. Has anyone here done the Pikes Peak Ascent Marathon? It looks horrible and awesome, and I would really like to do it someday. The short spandex shorts are big here with the skinny chicks, says Jim McGuckin. Short spandex shorts. Oh, yeah, so like booty shorts. Yeah, we call them booty shorts. Chris, Jamil is only allowed to run with you if you wear short shorts. He can borrow my Lululemons, says Sabrina. That's fantastic. With long singlets. I love it. I'm going to refresh the chat room because it's the only way to make it work. Scrolling back up to try to catch up to where I left off. Oh, but God. Weird Style, you are welcome. Chris Sabrina, your kids are amazing. Sabrina, thanks, Benjamin. Chris Vargo, ha ha ha. Samuel Smith, Ellen tried that and killed the internet. What did I miss? Samuel Smith, Martin Sheen, he plays Killian Jornet, right? Yeah, he is such a great chameleon actor. He can play anyone, including Killian Jornet. Gold Merton, hey Chris, when do your legs or body get tired on a run? Do they ever? I actually don't think Chris ever gets tired. I think he just gets injured. Oh, shit. Snap. Sabrina Redden sounds a little like Jim's style. I've run, Jamil Curry says, I've run AC 100 3 times and Western States once for my California 100s. Okay, so you haven't done San Diego. Well, you're going to do the triplet then. If you've run AC 3 times, incredible. And Western States once, another incredible. And California, or I'm sorry, San Diego 100, adding it to the list, you've done all 3. That one's done. I actually didn't want a second beer, but since it's open, can't let it go to waste. Chris Vargo. Oh, yes. Grand Canyon usually beats me up pretty good. I can run the next day, though. Which means you're not pushing hard enough, Chris. Oh, snap. Called you out twice, son. Twice. Jim McGuckin. Vargo finally got my new Nike Zoom Terra Hikers out on a technical trail this weekend, and the Zoom cushions really make the shoes grip like a beast, waiting on the new Zoom Elite 7s to drop. Yeah, I like the Terra Hiker. They're a little minimal for some of the longer hauls for me. If I'm going on like a 6 to 15 mile run, the Terra Hikers will be just fine. The Wild Horse have been great for longer distances for me, though they are now wearing totally through. I have holes in the upper. They're shredded. And I want to get another pair, but I think there might be some new versions coming out. I don't know. So I'm afraid to get a new pair. But I really, really like them. Chris Vargo. Oh, Ethan, I miss your face. Yeah, Jim McGuckin, the Strava group. Hell yeah. I love spandex. No chafing, says Brian. Jim McGuckin. Yeah, Sabrina, the whole short spandex shorts with long singlets and sport bras hanging out. I think Jim really likes that. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? Any more run venture ideas, guys? Any more like... Oh, look at that. People are using the Ginger Runner Live hashtag. I love it. Thank you. It works. So my automatic update works. Watching Ginger Runner Live. Mic check Ginger Runner Live. Hi, I like boys in shorty shorts. Oh, that's Sabrina. I thought it was Jamil. Because Jamil right after that says, I have no beer. 2 Pina Coladas watching Ginger Runner Live. Jeff Allen. Kalalau Trail. Kauai. Kalalau. Is that the one that goes along the ridge that's like that wide? I believe it is, and I've seen videos from that, and I would never do it. I would never do that trail. It's that wide, and it's about a 1,000-foot drop-off on either side. No, that's not fun to me. If it was a wider trail, maybe, but not that. And it involves rock scrambling. Neither do I. Hanging out on staff duty for the Army and watching this. Thank you for our service, Alex Bridgeforth. Appreciate that. Trying to see if it will work. Nice. Got it. Hashtag Ginger Runner Live is a hashtag that is working. So I'm able to get the updates live, which is great. I love my Adidas running shorts. Chris Fargo. Ha 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 ha. Adam Catchman. Are you ever going to come and run in Australia? You know you want to. I do want to. I would love to run in Australia. I have little in the way of huge travel budgets. I'll put it that way. So I'm limited to where I can go with the money that I have. Australia is one of those that you have to like plan ahead or you get a sponsor. And that I would do it in a heartbeat. I know Australia and New Zealand are 2 different countries, fully aware of that. But I would also love to go to New Zealand. I know that some of those mountains out there are also epic as well. Where in Australia should I go running? That would be my question to you, Adam. Since you seem to be Australian and living in Australia, where do you live, and what are some good areas that would have some like epic trails, mountain-wise or ocean-side-wise, or any of that kind of stuff? Chris Vargo, haha, yes, I just get injured. Shit. Jim McGuckin, yeah, the liners aren't enough, so I rock the Nike Pro Combat shorts underneath. Gotcha. I understand. I had to get used to liners after a while. I couldn't do multiple layers because it just gets so hot, and I don't like my crotch getting hot. Sammy Smith, you need thigh gap for short shorts. Ah, the thigh gap. Drink more beer equals less injuries. Great, in that case. Awesome one. It's good. It's good. I don't. I've been drinking less and less beer only because I've had less time to drink it. So I had a beer yesterday. I only had one, and it was plenty. I had a saison. It was a sour apple saison, and it was amazing. But it was plenty for me after a long weekend of not drinking. And then tonight, it's like 2 beers is incredible for me to be drinking so much, which is, I know for some people not a lot, but for me lately it's tons. Uh, Kalalau Trail Kauai. It's only a short section. Is that true? Because that short section looks like it's probably the most dangerous short section on the planet, and I don't want to die. I'm not really good at. It takes me a long time to work up to it, but like rock scrambling, even if it's a class, I don't know what the class is. Is class 1 the hardest and class 4 is the easiest, or is it vice versa? Whatever the easiest or the second to easiest, that takes me a while to like mentally get over. I do have a fear of heights, but if I'm running on a trail and there's sheer drop-offs on either side, I'm able to kind of focus and just stay straight, but I'm still mentally going, you're going to fucking fall off that cliff. You're going to trip and you're going to fucking fall off that cliff and you are going to die. So it's a matter of turning that switch off. So something like the Kalalau, totally fucking it up, that particular trail absolutely terrifies me because there is no room for error. There is no margin. Let's see. Coke burgers, the drink booth. It's only a short section. What are some of your favorite running movies, and where can I find them? Just go to Ginger Runner, youtube.com/Ginger Runner. Those are all my favorite running movies. That is a lie. There's the one we talked about it last week, or it was 2 weeks ago. The one where it was like in the 70s, where they're doing the Quad Dipsy, where Bruce Dern is running the. I'm sorry, not Quad Dipsy, just the Dipsy Trail, where Bruce Dern is training to run the Dipsy Trail as an older guy and kicks its ass. Forget the name of that movie, Running on the Edge or something like that. Find it. It's great. It's awesome. It was on Netflix for a while. I don't think it's there anymore. Killian Jornet released his Summit So My Life series, the second one of that, where he scales the Matterhorn and does the FKT on the Matterhorn, is insane and probably the most incredible footage you will see of a trail runner ever recorded on film. It is by far one of the most mind-bending feats of human strength I have ever witnessed on film. It's incredible. It's incredible. Like, I already knew the outcome because I followed it while he was doing it, but you can't help but watch it, and your heart races, and my balls get sucked up inside. It's incredible. You go rent it or buy it. I'm trying to think of some other running movies. As I think of them, I'll spit them out. Chris Fargo says, me drinking beer equals jail. Coke blowing. Sobriety seems to work best for me. I don't want to say I agree, Chris, because yeah, when you were in jail, it really pissed me off. No, I totally understand. Like when I go a couple weeks without drinking, it's usually Ginger Runner Live that I'll have one, and for the last couple of months, that's kind of been the case. It's interesting how it's shifted from doing like a beer a night to only having one a week. And recovery the next day is like during the week when I'm running, the next day I'm able to get up and just go do a run and not have to worry about like achy joints or bloat or any of that kind of stuff. Tomorrow it's going to be interesting because I'm actually having 2 beers tonight. I can't actually believe it. Tomorrow I'm probably going to go for a bit of a recovery run. It's going to be interesting to see how my body shapes up. So as I've kind of tapered down on the beer and just saving it for special occasions like race finishes or celebrating long weekends or that kind of stuff, or celebrating with friends after a long run venture, example, this last weekend. It's interesting. Saving it for special occasions has been really beneficial. or like special moments with you guys, sharing it with you guys, and definitely being moderate about it has helped in performance. Jim McGuckin says, "Hey Vargo, same reason I had to stop." Yep, Johnny D, 2 years sober as well. Love it. Jim McGuckin, beer led to coke, led to no sleep. Yeah, sleep. No sleeping would be bad. I have to sleep. I have to sleep. That's probably my #1 recovery tool. Chris Vargo, 3 years in December for me. I have to give you congratulations for that again, Chris. It's always inspiring, man. Jeff Allen, Angry Orchard Hard Cider. How is that? I auditioned for their commercials many times, but I have not booked a commercial for them, and I have not tried their hard apple cider. Is it good? It's kind of a new brand, right? In the last year, it's kind of had this resurgence where it's all marketing and people are talking about it. Is it good? Adam Couchman, Great North Walk 100, so 100 kilometer and 100 mile. Great Ocean Walk 100 kilometer. Both are fantastic locations. Okay, so that's down in Aussie, Australia. I'll have to look into those for sure. They both sound great. So it's the Great North Walk and the Great Ocean Walk, and they both sound like great walks. But I imagine they're also runs. Chris Ham, could you talk about each race numbers behind you? Oh, yeah. That's funny. That's the first time that's actually come up. Okay, so this is Squamish 50 from last year. That was my 50-mile finish. This, I actually don't know. I can't tell. I don't know. It's from a race, but I don't know because I can't actually see the sponsor or the name of the race on it. This is the Montreal Ultra Cup. I believe this is from one of the Southern California trail races put on by Xterra. Or this is Sean O'Brien because it's Montreal Ultra Cup. Maybe that's Sean O'Brien. It's tough because it just says the brand of the sponsor, and the Montreal Ultra Cup sponsored the Sean O'Brien because that's where Sally got her Montreal Ultra Cup entrance into Western States. This is a North Face 50K, I believe, which is my first ultra. So this is kind of the most specialist one to me. I like to keep it close to me. This one, oh yeah, this is so there's a series of races down here, Xterra races. I don't remember which one this is. This could be the Turkey Trot, Topanga Turkey Trot, which is the race that both Kim and I do together every Thanksgiving. I do the 15K, and she's been doing the 5 or the 10K or the 15K maybe this year. It's just a really fun race to run on Thanksgiving. Really fucking run it, like really speed, go for it. This is the Los Angeles Marathon. I believe this is last year. Had a decent race last year. Was fairly injured, but I love the LA Marathon. This is the North Face 50 mile. This is from this last year. This was the first 50 mile I ran for North Face, and I'll be running that one again this year. And this is another, I believe, either Turkey Trot or another Xterra one. I like saving these because these are ones that I like to share with my fiance. So those are those numbers. But I have so many other numbers, and you can see the numbers in the back of the review videos that I do, where that whole set background has a shit ton of numbers. I can't wait to get into my own studio space so I can actually build the set that I have imagined in my mind and have the numbers, and I can explain it for you when I do that too. Good question, Chris. Thank you for asking. Jake Condren, love all your videos. I think you're doing an awesome job with your channel. Love all the race videos. Love beer and love running. Nice, Jake. It's a lot of love, and I appreciate it, man. I really do. Thank you. Chris Vargo, exactly. Baker McCool, love the name. All this beer drinking and talk makes writing out this shift at the firehouse entirely too long. Oh man, sorry, dude. Thank you for your service. I know that it's a tough job, what you do. Where are you located? Because I know the Southern California firefighters are getting their ass handed to them, at least in San Diego. Not so much now, but they were a couple weeks ago. Okay. Oh yeah, Unbreakable. Someone says Unbreakable as far as movies are concerned. Great movie. JB did an amazing job with that film. Oh boy. Sorry guys, scrolling up, catching up with the comments. Okay, Sam Thomas, Ginger, what's your favorite book you've read about running? Honestly, Ultra Marathon Man, Dean Karnazes. It kind of got me into it. I don't want to say I'm ashamed to say that. It's a fact that he is a good writer. In the sense that he knows how to tell a great story. And as someone who was running marathons and just kind of doing the road thing for years, and then you pick up Ultra Marathon, and it's an easy read. You can just flip through that thing like nobody's business. It really kind of opened my eyes to the idea that ultra marathons are possible for anybody. And it was something that I thought it was only reserved for very elite or very special people, people who have been running their whole lives and, dedicated their life to doing ultra long distances. But when I read that, I was like, oh my God, okay, so maybe this is something I can actually do. And promptly registered for the 50K, the North Face 50K right here. And I'm so glad I did, because it absolutely changed my life. Totally. For the better. Because Ginger Runner would not exist had I not run that. And really kind of got into the idea that what I'm doing and what I'm doing for my body and what I am doing, pushing my own expectations, never thought that was all possible. So this whole Ginger Runner thing definitely came about because of that. So yeah, that book. And then what was the book about running the sub 4 mile? Perfect Mile. That was a great book. There's tons of really good running books. I actually haven't picked one up in a while. I heard that Kilian Jornet's Run or Die is pretty good. I want to read Scott Jurek's book. I heard that's really good and also has some good recipes, which, I like to cook. I'm a vegetarian, and he has tons of vegan vegetarian recipes in there. Congrats, Chris. It's cool you're open about all that in your interviews. Yeah, Johnny D, I totally agree. Chris Fargo is like an open book. And Chris Fargo, I think that's why I like him so much, is because he doesn't really give a fuck. He will answer any question you ask him and is an open book. And he's very proud of the fact that he is that way, and I respect that, because a lot of people try to edit what they say to appear a certain way, and Chris Fargo doesn't. He's just like, this is what I am, so you either like me or you don't. And in most cases, I would say 99.9% of people like him. There's that 0.1% that don't, and I know who that is. Chris, I know who doesn't like you. Just kidding. Nice work, Fargo and Jim. Beer equals Coke equals no sleep equals no money equals Loserville. Jim, I can imagine that's not good. So congratulations. I believe you are. How many years did you say you were sober? Because that's awesome. That's awesome. Chris Bolt, way to go, Vargo. Chris Fargo. And Ben. Yeah, James McGuckin, thanks. Now I just buy shoes and run. So yeah, changed addiction. Love it. Love it. There's actually a number of elite ultra runners and marathon runners who are former addicts and who have now kind of transferred addiction of substances to addiction of running. And yeah, like you said, running shoes and like doing all that kind of stuff. And I totally respect that. Just filling their life with good rather than the negatives. And I think that's a much better thing to be addicted to, is the good. Liner shorts, beware of seams. Just finished rim to rim with some serious debilitating chafing. Paid the Park Service premium for a tube of Vaseline. Too much information. Hardly, Samuel. Hardly too much information. It's something that we all deal with. Might as well talk about it. I use the anti-chafe, and I try to use it religiously. When I forget, I regret it. But I imagine in cases like that, did you use anything before you ran, or did you just run and hope all was going to be good? Because I've had both cases. Jim McGuckin, now Mad Miles is my new drug of choice. Yeah. I ran some Angry Miles last week, and they were awesome. Not really for remedying my anger, but for dealing with it. Mm-hmm. Sorry to be drinking in front of you guys. Sorry, not sorry. Adam Couchman. Another insane Australian run is the Big Red Run, 250 kilometers. Jesus, stage race through the desert. Insane. Sounds insane. Sounds very similar to the Trans Rockies, which is another one of my lists. Another one of my races on my list, the Trans Rockies, which is a stage race as well through the Colorado Rockies, and sounds epic and amazing. I want to do another stage race. That sounds fun to me. Multiple days of running through, beautiful scenery with friends and people and kind of sharing in that camaraderie, rather than just making it a 2, 4, 8, 14-hour run where you're all kind of sharing the experience. Why not make it into a 4, 5, 6, 7-day adventure? I love that idea. Unbreakable. Yeah, Sam mentioned that movie. It's absolutely great. Gabriel, hello people. Question for you, Ethan. Have you dealt with any running injuries? Yeah. I think it's a regular thing for runners to deal with. A lot of it is unspoken. A lot of people deal with injuries on a regular basis, and it's unspoken because they're afraid that if they put it out there, it's going to get worse, it's going to be debilitating, or it's going to shame them in some way. I dealt with metatarsalgia, I believe is what it was. I kind of ignored it for a long time. It happened during a race. Felt like a knuckle on the top of my foot just popped, and it was just constant pain when I ran. That was after the San Francisco Marathon 2 years ago. I can't tell you how long it took me to recover. I ignored it. I ran through it. I gave myself a couple weeks. We started running back, and it didn't work. I finally had to give myself a month of no running. I ran a race at the beginning of December and then just stopped running for a month. And finally, after slowly getting back into it, about another month or two, it just kind of stopped. So that was very, very lucky. Now I'm dealing with nerve stuff down the back of my right leg. I think it's a result of some S1, S2 vertebrae thing. I don't know why. I haven't been injured in my lower back, but I've just been having like this weird pain that's been going down, and I've even been feeling it on the bottom of my foot, which is not a great sign. It hasn't stopped me running in my tracks, and I am going to a PT now to try to determine ways to fix it or to at least address it, and I think it's coming to deal with my core. I have a pretty weak core, and that's probably why I still have a bit of a belly despite the mileage I'm putting in. So I'm working and being diligent about trying to strengthen that core and strengthen that lower back and work on my posture and keeping the discs from inflaming out and hitting a nerve and keeping them, centered. So I'm doing my best. I know Chris Vargo has dealt with injuries, and every time he gets injured, he takes the appropriate time and the appropriate measures to deal with it, and then comes back stronger. You ask any runner, and they're dealing with injuries. But a lot of the time, people try to keep it private. So I'm of the mindset where I'm trying to be diligent about not keeping that private because I can't. I mean, I'm not a superhero. I am a regular runner. I'm not an elite. I'm not sponsored. I'm just a regular mid-packer guy that gets injured, that gets hurt. Like right now as I'm sitting, I'm sore. I woke up this morning and my knees were sore. The bottoms of both knees were sore. I'm dealing with that on a regular basis. So, yeah, we get injured. There's also a 2-hour YouTube. Oh my God, Samuel. Oh my God, this movie. There's a 2-hour YouTube of Akos Konyas Badwater debut, totally amateur. You'll want to yeah. Okay, there we go. I'm glad that you mentioned that. So there is a documentary on YouTube that this guy filmed of his. I thought it was his friend. Is it his brother? Brother-in-law. Got it. He films this kid training for Badwater, competing in Badwater for his very first, I believe, ultra distance run, other than a 24-hour run. And he essentially wins it until Scott Jurek makes up the time and beats him by minutes. It's an incredible story to watch. However, there's a caveat to that. The guy who is filming it, which is the brother-in-law, who is part of the crew of Akos, is probably the most annoying person on the planet, because the entire time he's filming Akos and just like, yeah, you're my brother, you got this, oh, I love you, man, I love, constantly screaming, and so you can't even focus on the story that they're trying to tell, because it becomes about the guy filming and less about the guy actually doing the running. It's kind of hard to watch towards the end, but I made it through the whole thing because it's still an inspiring story for sure, and it kind of gives us smaller guys hope for sure. Chris Vargo, great show, Ethan. Back to watching the Pacers get their asses handed to them by the Heat. Aw, Chris, so sorry. Indiana for the win. Benjamin Nichols, go Pacers. Jim McGuckin, at Samuel, great video, minus the guy screaming, you're my dog a million, that's it. Jeff Allen, Ayo hard apple cider is obviously sweet, but it can be dangerous. Goes down way too smooth. If you don't mind a slightly sweet drink, it's on point, and it's a must-try. I actually do like sweet stuff, so I'll have to give it a shot. I've been getting into the cider game a little bit more, and it seems like that's kind of the trend now, too. People are getting into the cider, whether it's big brands coming out with cider stuff, but I actually predict that the next drink, brewed type drink that's going to become popular are going to be Radlers or Shandies. So Radlers are beer mixed with some sort of fruit juice or soda, and then Shandies are very similar, but they're a little bit more like Americanized versions. So Radlers to me are some of the most refreshing. I had a Radler last week. I believe it was Steigl Radler. Is a grapefruit Radler. Is so good. It's such a delicious summer refreshing drink. All right, scrolling back up. Sorry, guys. Comments, 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 comments. This will probably be the last series of comments because we're already at about 2 hours, I think, of live streaming. So I appreciate you guys sticking around for the post show. I always just love doing this, so I kind of got carried away. Talk, talk, talk. That's me. Okay. Got to mix up cider with stout. There you go. Jeff Allen, very light on the stomach and gluten-free. Oh, I like that. I do like gluten-free. I forgot about that. It's good for the people who are gluten-sensitive or gluten-allergic. Baker McCool, Covington, Tennessee, just north of Memphis, Tennessee. Eric Sue, are there any good sites to check out trails in California? Hiking trails, running trails? I believe there's some like hiking website down here that Modern Hiker is good, modernhiker.com. They have tons of trails that span Santa Monica Mountain Range to the San Gabriel Mountain Range. But it depends on what part of California you're specifically talking about, because I think there's websites like Modern Hiker that deal with various California areas. Benjamin Nichols, nice shout out by the Big DK. Oh, right? I couldn't believe that. I came home from the Run Adventure this weekend, and Dean Karnassus gave Ginger Runner YouTube channel a huge shout out. He's just like, hey, if you really like great videos about running, go check out Ginger Runner. I was like, oh my god, it's like it's the biggest shout out from one of the biggest names in running. Couldn't believe it. So I sent him, I contacted him, and I'm gonna try to get him on Ginger Runner Live. Hopefully it's gonna happen. He seemed really up to it because he commented back on my comment and someone else's comment in that particular post and said that he's all about it. Just get in touch with him. So I reached out, crossing fingers. It'd be great to get him on the show, for sure. The guy's a legend. I mean, he's a legend. If you have a smartphone, the app AllTrails, yes. Yeah, AllTrails is pretty cool. Pulls up local trails for your area. I believe they also have a website as well, yeah. Yash Srivastav. Oh, man, I mispronounced that. Did you run cross-country in high school? Yeah, but not well. I did it just to try to get in shape for soccer season and for track season. I was not good at track. In fact, I just did javelin and shot put because I couldn't run. And cross country, I was never in the front of the pack. Just did it to try to stay in shape. I was pretty chubby. I was a chubby kid. I'm still like a chubby adult. An adult. And I am a chubby adult. English is not my best language, but it is my only language. So it's always been on my list of things that I had to do to like stay in shape during the sports seasons in high school, for sure. Vargo, what is your favorite race you have ever run? I think he might have left the chat room, John, but if not, maybe he'll jump in and answer. Cody Van Rockel, or just the Explore feature on Strava. That's another great one, Cody. Is Strava has this great thing where you can just kind of search a general area for trails or things that people have run. Sometimes you'll get some really interesting results. Really short trails, little short distances, because there's a lot of people out there on Strava that love to just go get CRs on very short sections. They'll go for a half-mile run and get a CR, and then that's it for the day. Or they'll do that 7 or 8 times in a day, and that's all they do. It's kind of annoying. So you'll get weird sections, but it's a great way to explore a new area they might not be familiar with. Gold Merton, have you ever used chapstick to help stop chafing? I heard this one is an option mid-race fix. Not chapstick, no. But if you're in the middle of a race, most aid stations, and this goes for road races and for ultras, will have Vaseline at aid stations. And you can just take some of that on your hand and apply it to the place that you need to apply it. It's just getting over that hump of being afraid to ask for it. Do it before it gets bad. Johnny D, it's like Lily Tomlin. Exercises for people that can't handle drugs or alcohol. Yeah. Chris Bull, so true, Jim. Sam Thomas, awesome. Thanks for the response. I'm halfway through Scott Jurek's book, Eat and Run. I'm loving it. Very inspiring. Yeah, I'll have to read it. It's on my list now. Samuel Smith, 34K through the canyon bottom. Sans lube. What can go wrong? I forgot the Belgian butter. Oh, man. That sounds miserable. Sounds miserable. Chris Ham, how often do you foam roll? Do you find them beneficial? I used to do it every other day. Now I don't do it very often. I should do it. I should do it for my IT bands. I should do it for my calves, my quad. I should do it for everything. Just because I think it starts to break up that tissue, the scar tissue that forms. I think it's important. I do. I just neglect it. Chris Vargo probably would have a better thing to say on that because I think he foam rolls daily to work out some of his shit. How long should you hold a stretch after a run? 2 minutes. Says Gavin. I don't I try not to stretch too much. If you're going to do a stretch, you got to hold it for a minimum of 45 seconds. And it depends on if I'm having a tight area, specifically hamstrings for me. My half marathon is on Sunday. You got this, Matt. No worries, man. You've done it before. You can do it again. John Murray, Ethan, have you ever tried fruitarianism? I have not. I'm familiar with it, and I just don't think I've had that kind of impulse to eliminate everything from my diet except for fruit. I like cheese too much, and I like peanut butter too much. Almond butter. Jerk's book was pretty good. Not ashamed to say I enjoyed Dean's books halfway through Killian's, and it's okay. Interesting, Johnny. Yeah, it's I wanted to read Killian's just because it's Killian. I heard his second book is more fiction and involves a lot of sex stuff, which is interesting because that probably comes from a place of truth, which is interesting and interesting to think about. Chris Bull sounds like sciatica. Yeah, I think it is a bit of sciatica stuff based off of what my PT has been recommending, which is not great. Just trying to remedy it because I heard it can be problematic for a while. Eric Sue, thanks, Jeff Allen, Cody Van Ruckel. The running community is truly awesome. I totally agree. And Sam Smith, Timothy Olsen is another runner that came clean about his motivations for running. Google his blog post on iRunFar. Yes, he is one that I was referring to as well. Totally open about it, and it's a very inspiring story to read. Absolutely. I'll wager that even if our motivations for running huge aren't drug, alcohol addictions, in many, many ways it's sort of a therapy. That is why I do it, and it's really kind of filled weird voids in my life where I feel like I wasn't being fulfilled in various areas. And now seeing just the potential and some of the reach, it's why I like making films about my races, because there's kind of this underlying aspect of, yes, I want to document it so I can look back and trust that I've been able to do these crazy things, and that whole side of things, but also that there's it's inspiring to people, and I don't realize it until I'll watch it or I'll read the comments on it, and you'll see people saying like, I've never run a distance like this. This video inspired me. I just ran my first 50K or that kind of thing, and it's really, really cool to see how what I started as kind of a thing to help myself has been almost in a way transcendent and is now helping other people. So that's also why Ginger Runner Live exists, is because now it's a great opportunity for others to come and help influence others. That's why I like to have guests on the show, or I like to have themes on the show that kind of help get people out the door and get them juiced up to put on their shoes and go try something new. Specifically run adventures in this particular episode. How did you get into running ever since you were young? I've just kind of always been into getting out the door and doing something physical. I've never been I was always playing soccer. I've never been really good at any of the sports that I've done. Soccer was probably my best sport that I was good at. But when it came to running, it was something that I could just do for me, and I just kind of accepted the fact that I was never going to be the best or fastest guy on any of the track teams I was on. But then as I grew up, it became about setting challenges and seeing if I could accomplish them. And then also is how I got into cycling and doing ultra cycling events. The STP was the first ultra cycling event that I did, which is 200 miles from Seattle to Portland. And it proved to me that I was absolutely capable of doing what I didn't think I was capable of doing. And that my body, which I've always been... I'm going to talk about this in a future episode. I have terrible, terrible body image issues. And I think it's something that a lot of people suffer from, specifically in our sport. And I think it's something that we can actually have a whole show about. But my whole youth was growing up with major body issues. And doing these events was almost like telling myself, listen, you might not be proud of your body, but you should be proud of the fact your body can do incredible things. Despite size, despite how it looks, despite X factor. It's like you can still go do these things that you watch other people do and are inspired by. Riding on a bike for a long distance for 12 hours, running an ultra marathon for 14 hours. Like these things I never thought I would be physically capable of doing in this particular body. I'm proving myself wrong. I'm proving myself wrong every mile. And I think that's something that I want to say for a future show because I think it's important. Sammy, spoiler, What's the spoiler? What did I spoil? Oh man, maybe something about the book. Um, so do you mean next time I see you, I'll have a half marathon medal? Gosh, sheesh. Yeah, you will. Absolutely, Matt. Sam Smith. It's 2 hours on a treadmill. Well spent. Gabriel R. Thanks for being candid about the injuries talk. I've been sidelined since November. Just recently found out via MRI that it's bony stress reactions. Finding catharsis whilst recovering is difficult. I'm not sure what bony stress reactions are, but that doesn't sound awesome. That sucks. But understand that there are, let's see, some big stories that you can go research and find out that there are elites that are dealing with very similar long-term injury issues, but come back in better shape. Ellie Greenwood is a perfect example. Woman broke her femur or stress fractured her femur, I believe, and was out for months and is now back and just she's going to Comrades, and I believe she will either win it or second place, or like she'll be top 3 for sure. She is expected to do incredibly well. She's an amazing ultramarathon female athlete from Vancouver, but hearing her story from injury to triumph is incredible. Another one, Anna Frosty was out for a year with just some injuries and some sickness and stuff like that, and she is now back. She just won Transvolcania in epic fashion, and she's an amazing story to also kind of see come back from that very similar situation. So there are elite athletes out there who get injured, and even to the nth degree where it takes them out for a long time, and they still come back and they still perform well. So it happens to everybody. A lot of people just aren't really open to talking about it. Oh man, there's so many comments. I'm so sorry. This is I don't have no guests, and this is turning into the longest episode ever. Longest post show. There are 3 players in the Echoes vid. His sister, who makes me cry, her husband, the Bill, who needs walloping, and Carter, who joined the crew last minute, is a bit gaudy but full of wisdom. Yes, Sam, oh, that's what the spoiler is for. I understand. I am sorry for spoiling. Oh, I can't believe I did that. What a dick. I hope I didn't spoil. Well, the details aren't there, but you definitely outlined the 3 characters to that movie. Matt B. and Ethan, did you ever see the shirts I tweeted for you, Calgary? No, I did not. Sorry. Gabriel, have you tried pool running? If your injury can handle it, I advise giving it a shot. Same with cycle riding, like biking, low impact, or the elliptical, also low impact. And yeah, Benjamin, I'm doing that now. Great. Not actually now. I'm not chatting from the pool. That's smart, Gabriel. You don't want to get electrocuted. Very, very good. So that is it, everybody. I think I'm going to call it there. Please tell me you watch the Durian Rider YouTube videos for Terry, and he puts out some epic stuff. I do. I've seen Durian Rider's big Strava challenge epic video where he beat people on his bike. He seems like an incredible athlete. They get very preachy, and that's kind of that's something I don't necessarily like about people who do like a specific diet and then do an athletic activity and conquer that diet, or do really great things, is that they get kind of preachy about the diet, and I wish it wasn't so much that, because the results are speaking for it already. You don't need that extra voice saying one thing or another. But I think Michael Arnstein, I'd like to get on the show eventually to talk about fruitarianism and how it's kind of changed his life, because he's a great advocate for it. Oh, man. Recovery is going swimmingly. That is funny. Cross country. Always love being in the back of the pack. Same with track. Just do shot put and discus. Yep, that's basically what I did. Please tell me fruitarianism is expensive, and the energy they talk about is because you're on a sugar high, also not very healthy in the long run. Raul Engel, Ethan, could also be piriformis syndrome too. I'll have to look into that. Jim McGuckin Death Race in Canada. Yes, very familiar with it. Jeff Allen, Durian Rider, carb the fuck up. Love it. Jim McGuckin, I have watched Durian Rider and his girlfriend in the past. Crazy Aussies. Yes, for sure. 50 oranges, 80 bananas. It's nuts. I run a lot to help with a lot of things, sanity and stress relief, so on. But you have gave me a community, and I feel like I have running pals now. Thanks, Ethan. You bet, Gavin. Absolutely. Welcome to the community. Benjamin Nichols, speaking of body issues, Shay Carl is my runspiration. That will be a good story for that episode. For sure, Benjamin. Actually, I should get Shay on. I got to reach out to him. He'd be a great guest. Jeff Allen, he's actually an incredible athlete, great cyclist, and just ran a 2:47 marathon, I believe. What did I miss? Who are you talking about? All right, guys. That's it for the post show on Ginger Runner Live. I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel so you know when all the updates are happening. And of course, on Twitter at the Ginger Runner, Facebook at facebook.com/thegingerrunner, gingerrunner.com. That's it. I'm gonna go and finish this beer off because now it's also warm, and I'm gonna relax tonight. I'm gonna let my legs heal up because tomorrow it's back to the grind. You guys are fantastic. I again appreciate you guys sticking around for the post show. It's definitely a long one tonight. But I got to answer some questions. We got to talk about some run adventures, and that's what really excites me. So hopefully it's exciting you guys. Maybe you're planning your trips already, or planting those seeds to get the trips planned out, which is always awesome. All right, guys. I hope you guys are getting out there, training hard, racing hard, and partying the hardest. I know I am. Train, race, beer, or an alternate beverage, perhaps hard cider. We'll see you guys next week, 6 p.m. Pacific, live. Bye.